Bakit kailangang magpabakuna? Bakit nga ba vaccination? Ang pandemyang ito ay kumuha ng maraming buhay at patuloy pa nitong nilalagay sa peligro ang buhay ng nakakarami. Pinahina din nito ang ating ekonomiya at maraming Pilipino ang nawalan ng trabaho dahil dito. Sa pagkatuklas ng bakuna laban sa COVID-19, nagkaroon tayo ng oportunidad na malabanan ang pandemyang ito. Sa tulong ng mga bakuna, ay may iwasan natin ang sintomas ng impeksyon at posibleng maiwasan din ang malalang impeksyon at matigilan ang pagkalat nito. Gayunpaman, gaya ng iba pang mga bakunang ginagamit sa nagdaang dekada, ang abilidad nitong protektahan ang ating komunidad ay tataas lamang kung hindi bababa sa 70% ng ating populasyon ay bakunado. Halimbawa, kung ang iyong barangay ay mayroong 100,000 katao, hindi dapat bumaba sa 70,000 ang dapat mabakunahan upang matiyak na proteksyon ang buong komunidad. Kaya ating tandaan, ang pagbabakuna ay hindi lamang para sa iyo o sa iyong pamilya. Ito ay para din sa iyong barangay, lungsod at probinsya. Aling mga bakuna ang gagamitin sa Pilipinas? Sa ngayon, may limitadong supply ng bakuna sa buong mundo. Sa katunayan, halos 80% ng stock sa buong mundo ay nabili na ng mga mayayamang bansa. Dahil dito, walang iisang kumpanya ang maaaring mag-supply ng 110 million na bakuna sa Pilipinas, kaya naman nakikipag-usap ang ating gobyerno sa 7 manufacturers. Sinisiguro natin na ang mga bakuna nito ay makakatanggap ng Emergency Use Authorization at kung may EUA sila, doon lamang sila bibilhin at gagamitin ng ating gobyerno para sa ating vaccination program. Nagbibigay ang EUA ng assurance o katiyakan na ang bakuna ay dumaan sa masusing pagsusuri at nirerekomenda ng mga independent na eksperto sa atin. Hindi mo rin kailangan mag-alala. Ang bakuna laban sa COVID-19 ay hindi magbibigay sa iyo ng COVID na sakit. Magkano ang babayaran ko para mabakunahan? Ibibigay ng gobyerno ang bakuna ng libre. Wala kang dapat bayaran para magpabakuna. Sino ang unang makakapagpabakuna? Dahil kailangan nating masiguradong patuloy na makakapagtrabaho ang ating health system para maalagaan tayo, ang mga medical frontliners ang unang makakatanggap ng bakuna. Susunod dito ay mga eligible na senior citizens dahil sila ay nasa greatest risk ng severe infection o kamatayan. Alam natin ito dahil sa ating lokal na datos na mas mapanganib ang COVID-19 sa mga matatanda. Ang pagkakasunod-sunod na kung sino ang unang makakatanggap ng bakuna ay natukoy sa tulong ng mga eksperto. Kailan at saan ka dapat magpabakuna? Ang inyong national government ay nakikipag-ugnayan sa mga lokal na pamahalaan upang maihatid ang bakuna sa inyo. Ang lokal na pamahalaan or LGU nyo ang maghahanda ng pagpaparehistro at pag-ayos ng schedule ninyo sa pagpapabakuna. Mangyaring abangan ang anunsyo at instructions na magmumula sa inyong mga mayor or governors ukol dito. Ano ang kailangan mo bago magpabakuna? Habang hinihintay natin ang pagdating ng mga bakuna, kumuha lamang ng impormasyon sa mga mapagkakatiwalaang sources. Magtanong lamang sa mga licensed medical professionals ukol sa wastong pagbabakuna para sa COVID-19. Matuto rin tayong mag-verify ng ating mga nababasa o naririnig. Tanging tamang impormasyon lamang ang makakapaggabay sa atin sa ating desisyon na magpabakuna. Ang inyong health history ay mahalaga din sa pagtukoy kung dapat ka bang bakunahan o hindi, kung anong bakuna o angkop sa iyo. Kaya naman, importanteng seryosohin natin ang health screening na ito. Magpakita sa araw ng inyong screening at ideklara ang inyong complete health history, gaya ng allergies o mga risk factors o mga sakit noon. Masusuri ka lamang ng tama ng isang health professional kung ibibigay mo ang mga hinihiling na impormasyon. Kung hindi ka naman sumailalim sa screening, hindi ka maaaring i-book o i-schedule para sa pagpapabakuna. Ano ang kailangang gawin sa araw ng pagbabakuna? Pumunta kayo sa vaccination site kung saan ka nakalista. Huwag kalimutan magsuot ng face mask at face shield. Bago ka turukan ng bakuna, kailangan mong pumirma ng isang informed consent. Sa pagpirma ng dokumentong ito, ay pinapatunayan mo na voluntaryo kang magpapabakuna at alam mo ang mga benepisyo at posibleng side effects nito. Huwag din kalimutan ang mga minimum public health standards habang nasa vaccination site. Katulad lamang ng pag-maintain ng 1 metrong layo sa iba at pagsasanitize ng inyong kamay habang naghihintay. Pagkatapos mong mabakunahan, ay makakatanggap ka ng isang vaccination card at malilista dito kung kailan ka nabakunahan at kung kailan ang iyong susunod na appointment. Mananatili ka muna sa vaccination site ng 1 oras upang obserbahan ka sa mga di pangkaraniwang na sintomas o adverse events. At dahil importante sa amin ang inyong kaligtasan, ay patuloy kang babantayan sa susunod na 1 taon or 12 months. Ano ang dapat gawin pagkatapos magpabakuna? Maaari kang makaranas ng side effects tulad ng sa trangkaso, pero mawawala naman ito dapat pagkatapos ng ilang araw. Huwag mag-alala, senyales to na bumubuo ng proteksyon laban sa sakit ang katawan mo. Karamihan nakakaranas ng lagnat o sakit at normal ito. Kontakin ang iyong healthcare provider kung ang pamumula o pagiging sensitibo ng lugar kung saan ka tinurukan ay lumala pagkatapos ng 24 na oras. At kung nag-aalala ka pa sa iyong mga sintomas o kung hindi sila nawawala pagkatapos ng ilang araw. Importanteng may ulat mo ang mga ito sa health authorities para maaral ng mga eksperto kung konektado nga ba ang mga sintomas mo sa bakuna o hindi. Ayaw naming mag-alala ang publiko ng hindi kinakailangan. Sa mga bakuna na meron tayo ngayon, ay kinakailangan ang 2 turok ng bakuna upang mabigyan ka ng inaasam na proteksyon. Kailangang magpaturok ka pa rin ng pangalawang bakuna kahit nagkaroon ka ng side effects. Maliban na lamang kung pinayuhan ka ng iyong healthcare provider na ipagpaliban ito. Paano ko patuloy na maproprotektahan ang sarili ko at ang aking pamilya? Gaya ng ibang pagbabakuna, nangailangan pa rin ng oras para sa iyong katawan na bumuo ng proteksyon sa COVID-19. Pero tandaan, ang pagbabakuna ay isa lamang sa maraming mga solusyon laban sa pandemya. Kailangan pa rin natin magpatuloy sa pagsuot ng mga face mask, pagsunod sa 1 meter physical distancing, pag-iwas sa mga kumpulan, at madalas na paghugas ng kamay upang maprotektahan ang inyong sarili at ang inyong pamilya. Paano natin masisiguro na ang ibabakuna sa atin ay tunay at mabisa? Ang mga bakuna ay biological products at sensitibo ang mga ito. Maari lang itong magbigay ng proteksyon sa atin kung sila ay authentic o galing sa totoong manufacturer at kung sila ay naitra-transport o nahahatid mula factory hanggang vaccination site sa tamang temperatura. Hindi pwedeng masyadong mainit o masyadong malamig. Kung hindi, pwedeng masira ang bakuna at hindi na ito magiging epektibo. Bagkus, pwede pa itong makasama sa ating kalusugan. Kaya naman, siguraduhin natin na ang bakunang iyong matatanggap ay nagmula sa lehitimong manufacturers at naihatid sa tamang temperatura.
Tara sa Vida Vaccination!
Ang simulan, isang hakbang para sa kinabukasan. Ating buwis, ating tungkulin. Ito ang landas nating tatahagin. Hangad pa Pinas, tayo
Dahil sa bis natin, dumami at mas maayos na ang serbisyong pangkalusugan.
Maliit kung sama-sama. Uusbong ang bagong pag-asa.
Dahil sa voice natin, maayos na at simentado na ang mga daan.
Papinas, tayo ang haligi ng bukas. Ating tungkulin ang buwis natin, Pinas. Ating
Dahil sa buwis natin, mas sigurado ang inyong kaligtasan.
Dahil sa buwis natin, may edukasyon para sa kabataan.
Dahil sa bis natin, patuloy ang pag-angat ng Balon Bayambang.
Sa tulong ninyo, babangon tayo.
Sa tulong po ninyo, mabilis tayong aasenso.
Kaya't ipagpatuloy natin ang pagbabayad ng tamang buwis para sa mas maliwanag na kinabukasan para sa bawat bayambangenyo.
Magandang balita para sa mga bayambanggenyo. Ngayong taon ay may tax amnesty sa real property tax o amilyar. Bilang tulong ito ng lokal na pamahalaan ng Bayambang. Aalisin ang inyong mga interes at penalty sa mga hindi nabayarang taon. Ano pang hinihintay ninyo? Makipag-ugnayan na lamang sa Assessor's Office at Treasury Office tuwing Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 ng umaga hanggang alas 5 ng hapon. Hanggang December 31, 2021 lamang ito. Kaya wag nang magdalawang isip pa, maging kabahagi sa mas maliwanag na bayan ng Bayambang. afternoon to each and everyone. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Masanton na nga ramad si kayo namin na imbag nga malam kada kayo amin apo kakabsat, gagayem. Welcome po sa unang session po ng atin pong Digital LGU for Smart Town Session 1 about digital transformation. LGU Bayambang envisions to be a globally competitive smart town with a transparent, accountable leadership and responsive community that is proactive in environmental protection and disaster resilience, fueled by modern agriculture, economic zones, and tourism, empowered by poverty-free citizenry. This is the vision of the municipality of Bayambang, and one of which is to become smart town po. Kaya mga kaibigan, this afternoon we'll be having the first of the 4 sessions po ng atin pong Smart Town session dito po sa LGU Bayambang. This is the very first activity, I believe, not only here in the municipality but in Region 1 to share knowledge about Smart Town and about digital transformation. And you know, I know we are all excited, kagaya ko po, to learn more about digital LGUs. And to formally start this program, may I just request everybody to please unmute your microphones for a short prayer. LGU Bayambang na i-share ito sa iba pa po mga munisipyo at mga local governments unit po, hindi lamang po dito sa probinsya ng Pangasinan, but to everyone who would like to know more about being smart LGU. You know, guys, an estimated about $1 billion was saved on civil service staff in Nigeria using digital IDs and removing 62,000 ghost workers. 24 out of 28 European Union member countries have begun implementing the once-only initiative, which is expected to save 855,000 hours for citizens and 11 billion euros for business annually. The Philippine national government has published a number of policy documents related to digital transformation in the government. The DICT published in 2019 the E-Government Master Plan 2022, or the EGMP, which seeks to achieve one digitized government for the country. It shall enhance organizational and intergovernmental coordination, address personal and capabilities issues in utilizing ICTs for more efficient operations, public service delivery, and support business to perform more effectively. And the Philippine Department of ICT published its cloud-first policy in 2017 to enable data sharing, eliminate legacy systems, and enable scalability and flexibility. Mga kaibigan, alam ko po, lalong-lalo na doon sa mga LGUs, na sa mga kasamahan po natin dito sa LGU Bayambang, at lalo na rin po yung mga kasamahan po natin mga LGUs from other towns and other provinces. Marami pong mga bagay dito na we thought this is a new one, pero luma na po talaga tong smart town na to. Pero hindi lang ito nakakapunta pa at marami pa pong mga bayan ang hindi nakaka-appreciate because limitado po yung knowledge about smart towns. You know, itong bagay na to, sabi nga po nila during the conversations and during the planning of this webinar, hindi na kailangang ipilit ito ng isang CEO or ng isang leader or isang top manager. Parang napilitan na po tayo because of COVID-19. Everything is already online, lahat na ng bagay, we promote less or yung mga contactless na mga activities natin. And digitization of our local government units is really a must sa mga panahon pong ito. Ito po yung dikta ng po ng panahon. And you know, with the kind of people that we have, masyado ng techie ang mga kabataan as early as 5 years old. Marami ng mga kabataan ang marunong gumamit ng mga gadgets. So talagang it is really needed for us to make sure na ang atin pong mga lokal na pamahalaan po, ang atin pong organisasyon ay talaga namang ICT friendly na, or kumbaga sinasabi ko po na talagang they know how to use and maximize the use of technology. Senator Win Gatchalian filed Senate Bill number 1793, or the Full Digital Transformation Act of 2020, that mandates all government agencies, GOCCs, instrumentalities, and LGUs to adopt a digitization strategy that aligns with the Philippine Digital Strategy of 2022. Different organizations, for various reasons, have varying temperaments relative to embracing digital transformation. Among local government units, common concerns are resources, such as budget, technical capacity, perceived conflict of internal ICT capability building and delivery of urgent public services, and perceived sophistication to implement digital transformation. That's the reason why, mga kaibigan, this afternoon we will try to help you to shift from the lumang style to digital type of LGU. LGU Bayambang started this one since 2016 with the administration of Team Kimbao Subangan, na kung saan ilan po sa mga mahalagang parte ng atin pong LGU Bayambang ay talaga namang naka-computerize na po, or nasa ilalim po ng computerization program. And this afternoon we'll try with the help of our speakers, with the help of our guests and the department heads present po, we'll try to help you in how we were able to shift from the analog to the digital type of LGU Bayambang. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to acknowledge our mayor, Dr. Cesar Tirado Kiambao, our municipal officials headed by Vice Mayor Raul Arsabangan and the other councilors. We have Councilor Benji Rivera, Councilor Philip Dumalanta, Councilor Martin Tirada II, Councilor Melvin Boying Junio, Councilor Joseph Vincent Ramos, Councilor Levinson Nesus Uy, Councilor Amory Junio, and we also have here our Councilor Jerry Flores, and of course, we have the Liga ng mga Barangay President, Councilor Rodelito Bautista, and our SK Federation President, Councilor Gabriel Tristan Fernandez. We would like also to acknowledge joining are the department heads, unit heads, and section heads of our LGU, headed by our Municipal Administrator, Attorney Raimundo B. Bautista Jr. And I know you're all excited. Siguro marami nag-iisip, paano ba maging digital magkaroon ng digital transformation ang atin pong munisipyo, magkano yung kailangang ihanda ng isang munisipyo, anong klaseng capability yung mga empleyadong kailangan para magkaroon ng ganitong klase po ng pagbabago or shift sa ating LGU. These short questions po will be answered later on. Pero bago po ang lahat, mga kaibigan, I'd like to welcome our municipal mayor to give his welcome remarks for all the participants joining our webinar this afternoon. Please welcome our municipal mayor, Dr. Cesar Tirado Quiambao.
Good afternoon, fellow public servants, resource speakers, and my beloved Bayambangeños. The vision of Bayambang is to be globally competitive, smart town. We define smart town not just in terms of technology, but in terms of governance and human capital. We see a globally competitive smart town to have a transparent and accountable leadership and a participative community. We see a globally competitive smart town as proactive in environmental protection and disaster resilience. We see a globally competitive smart Bayambang as one that is fueled by modern agriculture, economic zones, and tourism. And most importantly, we see a globally competitive smart town as a citizenry freed of poverty. I would say that the situation of Bayambang is not all that different to many rural towns in the Philippines. Agriculture-based, high incidence of poverty, and not enough resources with increasing demand by its citizens while having to comply with numerous legal and regulatory frameworks. So we as local government, we have to find ways to deliver more those needs, both immediate and strategic, while remaining compliant with national policies and guidelines. One strategic solution I saw to make this happen is digital transformation. Within my first year as mayor, I immediately implemented our integrated LGU system, which aims to link all internal processes such as accounting, budget, and treasury. We also implemented a system of monitoring submissions for business applications and calculating real property taxes. We also implemented an online document management system that allows documents to be tracked. We also implemented systems to know our citizens better through the Community Service Card, which is a smart card in itself, and the restructured Community-Based Monitoring System, or RCBMS, which contains socioeconomic data and is used for various development projects. We completed the updating of the data of the RCBMS last month, and we are in the process of finalizing the report for submission to the Sangguniang Bayan to adopt it as our official data and institutionalize the process of updating. These systems help us see our current status, however good or bad it may be, so that we can address items requiring action. These are just the beginning. Digital transformation in our experience, may be a bit challenging, but it's definitely a learning experience in itself. We learn that digital transformation is less of a technology change as mindset change, as we are still continuously updating the systems we have implemented to incorporate cultural realities. In this light, we hope that participants, both from the government as well as our constituents who are watching us in Facebook, may be given some actionable guide on how to go about with digital transformation. I would like to thank our speaker, Mr. Richard Maya of Microsoft Philippines, and Mr. Christopher Cruz and Spencer Chu of NTT Data for spending their time and sharing their knowledge on digital transformation to our municipality and our participants to better serve our internal and external stakeholders. I encourage all participants to take this rare opportunity to actively listen, learn, and ask questions during the Q&A. Let us think, how can I apply this aspect of digital transformation to my work and my role in ridding Bayambang of poverty? I look forward to a fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, our Mayor, Dr. Cesar Tirado Quiambao, for that message and the rationale, or not the rationale actually, but to give you an idea about this webinar as we shift from digitization or from the digital LGU for smart town. Ladies and gentlemen, to give you the rationale and to give a background about the webinar series that we're going to have, as I've said a while ago, this will be it will be for 4 tranches. Ito po yung unang tranche, ito yung unang buhos ng atin pong sharing po ng knowledge about smart towns is to give the webinar series introduction, please welcome our ICT officer, Mr. Ricky Bulalakaw. Sir?
Good afternoon to all participants. To set the context for the webinar series, I would like to pose a few questions. First is, are you living or do you work in an LGU which is considered an agricultural town? And does your LGU or your organization experience limited financial resources? Or is your organization experiencing increasing workload or demand? And are your milestones at constant risk due to unpredictable incidents such as disasters, calamities, and pandemics? And is your organization also experiencing increasing demanding publics or clients? And lastly, for all the questions above, do you already have an immediate or holistic answer to any of the above questions? If you agree and say yes to these questions, then I believe this webinar is for you. The Digital LGU for Smart Town webinar series is a project initiated by the LGU of Bayambang to introduce to participants both from the public and private sector within a local government setting to digital-enabled governance in pursuit of being truly effective, efficient, client-centric, and data-driven organizations. Among others, the webinar series aimed small organizations such as local government units or micro or small or medium enterprises in pursuing a digital strategy to achieve organizational goals. In the context of LGU Bayambang, this is equipping the local government and its constituents, so that includes everyone who's watching here in Facebook Live, with the knowledge and mindset for digital transformation to achieve its vision of becoming a globally competitive smart town empowered by a poverty-freed citizenry. Most local governments have common and basic development goals and outcomes. Your local government may have a varying little, but we share common goals. So social, economic, public order, disaster resiliency. We may have different specific targets, but our comprehensive development plans share a common framework. We invite you to this series, to join this webinar series beginning today with digital transformation. And may I also reiterate the message of our municipal mayor to listen intently and ask questions. We look forward to a very productive Monday afternoon, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Ricky, for giving us the idea about the webinar series. So ngayon mga kaibigan, as Sir Ricky said a while ago, it will be sabi ko nga, 4 tranches ito. It will be every month, once a month po tayo magkikita-kita para mas maintindihan po natin itong digital transformation, about being smart town, how to become a smart or digital LGU sa atin pong mga munisipyo. Once again, mga kaibigan, ay bigyan ko lang din po ng diin. Ito po ay bukas sa lahat po ng mga LGUs, hindi lamang po dito sa probinsya ng Pangasinan, pero sa atin pong lahat. And for those na nag-iisip ng kung ano-ano po, hindi po yun totoo. Okay? This is for everyone. We are just very happy that we have, Sir Ricky has a lot of friends, na from the national agencies po at makakapagbigay po ng knowledge about digital LGU. We wanted to share it po sa mas marami pa pong mga audience para mas marami pong makaalam dito sa tinatawag po nating smart town or digital LGUs. But before we continue and start the first session this afternoon, I'll be just sharing with you our house rules para pag nag-start na po tayo ng atin pong session. So, I'll just wait. We're gonna put our PowerPoint presentation. Gagayahin ko na ba si Ida? May ganun na ako. May projection na ako. Yan. So, here are the rules to maximize online webinar session. The first one is that put your mic on mute until requested to turn it back on. So, para po hindi magkaroon ng problem, i-auto-mute na lang po muna namin lahat yung atin po mga participants para po it will not parang hinder magkaroon ng problem kapag may nagde-discuss na po ng mga speakers po natin. While we are having that po, I request also to indicate your agency in your display name. Example, LGU Bayambang, then your name. For those who are participating from the private sector, so you just use, instead of LGU, please use the name of your company and your name also para na po ma-recognize namin kayo properly. Please type your questions via the chat box. While the speakers are having their discussions, you may send some questions already that you wanted to be to ask later on during our open forum, and we'll try to read and request our speakers to answer all your questions. Next, please be prepared for a screen capture for taking attendance before the end of this session. So later on at the end, so ngayon po, you may close your microphone, your video cameras. Pero before the end of our session, may request na mag-ready po tayo for a photo op or for class picture. Please respond to our session feedback form to be sent via email for us to improve this is actually the first sponsored webinar of the LGU Bayambang, and we are trying to make ourselves na maging mas sanay po dito, and please help us to improve our craft by responding to our session feedback form, which will be sent through our email. Privacy disclosures. Next, please. Your submitted personal information shall be used only for communications and advisors related to webinar. This will not be shared to anyone and will be deleted after the event. And my dear friends, the webinar will be recorded for quality improvement and learning purposes. And if you wish to request for the copies of the recorded webinar, you may send through our chat box or through our email po para we could share po yung atin pong pinag-uusapan this afternoon. I guess that's all the house rules po. Thank you and enjoy the webinar later, ladies and gentlemen. So, yan, wag na natin pong patagalin ito. I know a lot of you would like to know more about digital LGU and how to become a smart town. And this afternoon, we are just very lucky to have speakers from the national agencies and from the private sectors who could give us a more parang kumbaga mas klaro at mas maliwanag na idea at picture about digital LGU. So, my dear friends, let me introduce to you the first two speakers. For the first presentation, we have Mr. Christopher Cruz, is a seasoned IT professional with over 18 years of ICT leadership experience in designing innovative business solutions with focus on emerging technologies and digital transformation. He collaborates with the C-suite and the executive team to set and drive organizational vision, operational strategy, client satisfaction, and overall corporate success. As a technoevangelist, Mr. Cruz is frequent speaker at industry conventions, conferences, occasional contributor to industry articles or interviews. Knowledge of an experience in designing IT solutions and lead business transformation. Currently, he serves as Chief Technology Officer and Head of Digital Center of Excellence for NTT Data Philippines. Discussing with Mr. Cruz on ICYM, his colleague, Mr. Spencer Chu. Mr. Chu is an IT professional and solution architect with over 10 years of experience in designing innovative business solutions with expertise in Microsoft technologies. His experience spans various technologies, solutions focused creating value to customers through digital transformation. After finishing a master's degree in information technology, he has pursued his career in IT, focusing on implementing information systems and ERP for a retail company, and then shifting to consulting 10 years ago after joining NTT Data. Ladies and gentlemen, to discuss ICYM, transitioning LGUs to digital government, please welcome Sir Christopher Cruz and Sir Spencer Chu. Sir? Yeah.
Magandang hapon everyone. Good afternoon to all joining the Zoom meeting today. And doon po sa mga nanonood sa Facebook Live natin ngayon. So we're told that we're live at Facebook. That's really good start for us to talk about technology and disseminate the information. Kasi na nabanggit kanina, we're promoting inclusivity. So that's a very good initiative, Sir Rick. And the pool of municipality of Bayambang, kasi we have to transition and provide knowledge to those who really need as well. Nabanggit na nga kanina Mayor Gambao about initiatives that the local LGU. And we at NTT Data, together with Spencer, are very much privileged and honored to be part of this Smart Town initiative, the webinar discussion. And I think the four-part webinar is very important kasi in any learning, nabanggit nga kanina sa napakinggan ko is about mindset. So tama si Mayor dyan, it's not about technology alone, it's about the mindset and the talent that it takes for us to develop this shift towards digital. So importante na meron tayong immersion.
For a week, I suggest to take advantage at ito ay isang magandang one of the first actually na LGU na attended namin na mayroong ganitong initiative for not only the municipality or the local government unit of Balon, Bayambang, but also to others. So we're deeply humbled and excited to be part of this conversation. Spence, would you like to say some few words? Or if not, I'm gonna continue. So, yun nga. So I think from this session today, we're gonna share sa inyo mga real world scenarios and applicable dun sa mga areas where we can help transform by the means of having technology at the forefront. Again, sa buong tema ng ating pag-uusap today, technology o teknolohiya will be a driver, pero mas marami pang kailangan i-consider. We also will talk about some of the use cases kung bakit kailangan mag-transform ang isang LGU to become more digital, and yung mga what are the use cases. I believe also in the next few sessions, pag-uusapan din kung papaano, how do we transform. So those are reserved for the next speaker. Now, as part of entity data, ang company po namin is a system integrator. So we are actually based in Tokyo. We are in more than 50 countries. In the Philippines, our headquarters is in Makati. But we work with LGUs, both private and corporate, to simplify yung modern complexities ng business and IT. Kung mapapansin nyo, alam nyo na medyo marami pong terms sa IT. At for those who graduated from IT, and makaka-relate naman dito even other courses as well, learning never stops. So dapat nag-evolve tayo. Now sa entity data, our emphasis is really long-term commitment, and while we are a global company, we also utilize local intimacy pagdating po sa pag-solve ng mga real-world challenges. So sa mga mababanggit po naming use case today, these are areas that are grassroots, meaning kami po mismo ay nagpupunta sa mga LGU to understand what are the challenges being faced on the ground and how we can simplify yung modern complexities nito para makatulong po sa mga mamamayan. While we are a technology company, ang passion po ng entity data is more on the outcome of technology and how it will solve societal problems. One of the deck of Sir Ricky are the 5 common challenges of LGU and initiatives, and that's where we believe that technology can really help. So dun po ang aming passion. Now, in every nation, the government is the strongest force that can start a revolution. Tama po tayo? So, but in terms of digital revolution as well, tayo rin sa public sector ang primary contributor ng economic growth. And that is very important. When we talk about digital transformation, malamang makapag-Google po tayo, or sa Facebook, or sa Twitter, right? Marami pong definition ng digital transformation. Pero I think from the introduction this morning, and yun nga nabanggit din ni Mayor Cambao a while ago during his opening speech, ay hindi lang po ito about technology. It's about changing of the culture. Kasi omnipresent po ang technology. Technology is omnipresent in our society. The key there po is our ability to understand and embrace technology. And it represents a lot of opportunity, enormous opportunity for everyone, especially po sa local government. Ito po yung kinakailangan ng mga LGU to empower digital transformation as we build towards economic growth. It broadens social inclusion, and it also drives good governance na nabanggit po kanina. There are a lot of initiatives na nabanggit si Mayor a while ago about integration of accounting, budget, and treasury, put forward po e-submission and document management. Those are very important aspects to make sure that lahat po tayo may transparency and access sa data. Yun po yung isa sa mga pillars na pag-uusapan natin in terms of digital transformation. But pagdating po sa digital transformation, at tayo po ay may aspirations to become smart town, right? So this is the public sector for the future. But actually a lot of LGUs have started to look into technology. Di na po ako lalayo. The pandemic last year totally shifted po ang lahat po tayo nag-adapt in terms of the processes. How do we secure our borders? How do we safeguard our citizens? How do we protect them? Yung fast pace of using technology as well as we transition schools to online. Another topic po na kailangan natin pag-usapan. Sa madaling salita, nakapag-transition po tayo at medyo sanay na po tayo kung mapapansin nyo po sa ganitong new normal. Ika nga. However, when we talk about digital transformation pagdating sa government sector, so pag-isipan po natin bakit. Why? Why do we need to transform? And ito pong nakikita niyo sa screen are three aspects of why we should transform. One is we have to reimagine how government delivers and create services consistently para sa citizen. Lagi po nating isipin, what's in it for my citizens? Yun po, kasi marami pong digital transformation initiatives ang nagfe-fail kasi po hindi natin dinesign yung ating pong opportunity or ating pong adhikain hindi nakasentro sa mga mamamayan natin. So yun po yung pinaka-importante. We have to understand what are these challenges on the ground among those 5 areas na nabanggit natin, and with the use of technology, help transform now yung relationship between our LGU and how we provide services, better governance para sa ating mga constituents. And I think that's very important. And lastly, obviously, is to create po yung awareness in terms of open transparency, etc., and more citizen-centric approach pagdating po sa ating mga vision. Now, may mga nagbago in terms of the expectation. And isa po sa mga why kung bakit po natin kailangan mag-transform is that nag-evolve na po yung ating mga users or ating mga citizens. Our governments, our LGU, and we speak to a lot of LGUs po dito sa atin, and even outside the country, our governments po, our LGU, are continually under pressure to deliver value sa mga citizens, if you notice, and sa mga communities, lalo-lalo na. Kasi kung maiisip po natin, doon sa mga citizens who are in this call at nanonood sa FT Live, and tayo mismo, yung nag-evolve na citizen and constituent expectations, especially nung pandemic, have created the imperative for our LGU to digitally transform. Tatanong niyo po, bakit? Kasi tayo pong mga citizen ay sanay po doon sa mga corporations, mga private corporations na nagbigay po sa atin ng convenience, like yung mga online shopping. Pwede ba ako magbanggit? So, hindi pwede. So, yung mga online shopping natin, nag-order po tayo ng pagkain at i-deliver po sa bahay. Ganon din po sa mga damit at mga ating mga pangangailangan. Sa healthcare, nag-transform po tayo to providing better patient care through telemedicine. So, hindi na po tayo usually pupunta sa hospital para makakausap ng doktor. So, technology is there. Now, the LGU has a big responsibility. How do we provide better services to our constituents? So may mga nabanggit si Mayor kanina, pero hindi po doon tatapos. Marami pa pong kailangan pag-usapan. And it is our aim from our discussion, from our talks today, to provide you po with all of these whys and yung mga what po para maintindihan po natin at we adopt this. So ayun po yung simpanimulang part of this session. So I hope everyone sticks and magkakaroon po tayo ng magandang talakayan pagdating po sa kung papaano at ano at bakit sa LGU sa mga nanonood po about digital transformation. So Spence?
Yeah. Thanks Chris, salamat. So yun, napag-usapan na ni Chris kung bakit or ano yung digital transformation when it comes to LGUs. What we want to also talk about is ano ba isura niyan when it comes to governments doing digital transformation. Bakit digital governments are better government? Kasi sa public sector nga, we understand that yung public sector, lalo na yung LGU, they are the grassroots. They are the front lines when it comes to the services that they deliver. Yung digital transformation within LGUs is an opportunity for them to be the building block of society, lalo na nung nagkaroon ng pandemic. Yung mga constituents or citizens relied a lot on the LGUs to provide services, information, and safety ng mga tao. LGUs wanted to ensure the health and safety of the public. At the same time, yung expectation ng tao nga on the LGUs to help them, yun na nagbago nga sabi ni Krister. In terms of digital transformation, it's the LGUs who are looking into what Mayor mentioned, initiatives on improving how they work. This includes things like yung reducing operational overheads, things like automation, the government information system allows you to speed up yung records retrieval. So hindi na kayo mas madali nang maghanap ng mga records or yung mga taxation nga natin. Ang maganda dito is that once you reduce yung data silos or yung pagkakahiwa-hiwalay ng data natin, mas magiging efficient ang work ng government natin. Okay. So when we look at digital transformation for LGUs, we look at 5 key areas or key sectors. Yung first natin is yung digital workforce and digital workplace. Second would be the digital communities, then the digital government, our digital classrooms, and then yung digital commerce natin. Okay, so let's start with digital workplace natin. So yung 21st century, nakikita na natin yung mga employees natin have evolved. Yung skill set nila is different. Lalo na when the pandemic started, lahat tayo na force na mag-work remotely. Especially here in Manila, most of yung employees natin are now doing remote work. At the same is true with the government or the LGUs. There needs to be a upskill natin in adopting remote work technologies. And all of these are being provided by collaboration tools by our principals or our technology evangelists. There's always a need for skills build-up, especially with the modern workplace, because of the information and how information flows freely across different departments. Important nga within the government to look at things like an information system where everything is connected. This allows everyone to reduce yung red tape and ultimately improve processes. Yung reinventing the workplace and the workforce itself, it's not just for the external or the constituents, but it's also for the internal or the government employees. With the tools that we have right now, we're able to foster more collaboration. What we mean is that hindi lang isang department ang nagtatrabaho, but it can be across multiple departments, across multiple LGUs, bringing together the knowledge of everyone to provide more meaning and value to everyone, to the constituents. There's also adoption of change within employees and enablement. The open communication between multiple departments allows you to move more freely across your organization. And in terms of providing feedback or providing more information from outside, meron mga tinatawag na omni-channel case management. So ito yung mga information coming from different sources like yung mga calls natin, emails, website, and even Viber or Facebook Messenger. So yung information na yung pumapasok, mas madali natin makaka-capture lahat yun at makaka-create tayo ng mga more proactive actions yun. So yung next natin would be your sustainable communities. Digital technology or digital transformation also affects how we move in terms of the communities natin. Yung dito, we want to focus more on the citizens and helping citizens cope with disasters or pandemics or the lot. At the same time, upgrading them into a more digital scale. We talk about digital infrastructure or digital safety. Ang pinaka value nito is we're able to monitor health, cleanliness, and order across the entire organization. When you talk about public safety kasi, we can make use of yung mga CCTVs or optical sensors para makita natin or ma-augment natin yung mga kakulangan natin sa tao. Kasi alam naman natin na hindi lahat or hindi buong town natin mababantayan ng a law enforcement agent. Mas maganda dyan is that we can capitalize on yung technology to help us monitor and provide feedback across everything, considering road safety as well as yung mga health natin. Okay. When it comes to health naman natin, starting, I think this is the anniversary of the quarantine in Metro Manila. Ang important kasi when it comes to health during the pandemic is that number one, we keep to the protocol set by the IATF on wearing face masks and social distancing. We can make use of yung technology that we have to monitor yung systems natin or yung lugar natin para makita kung marami bang tao dito sa isang lugar, overcrowded ba to? Do we still maintain social distancing? At the same time, nakikita natin if may mga tao doon na medyo mataas yung temperature, so that meron tayong proactive nga na nangyayari. We understand na hindi lahat ng lugar meron tayong healthcare workers. And there's a limit dun sa healthcare workers and facilities natin. So that's where technology is helping our healthcare practice para matulungan lahat ng tao and provide a more better experience. I think Chris has information or can share from our experiences providing technology as part of healthcare natin. Chris?
Yes, Spence. Thank you for introducing. So pagdating sa healthcare, there's dial back lang po ko a little bit in terms of what Spencer said about yung citizen-centric. Kasi di ba nabanggit natin kanina na today's citizen expect public services to be more citizen-centric, so baga more personalized and responsive tulad ng mga nakukuha nilang serbisyo sa private sector. So ngayon, it's a demand sa atin. Now, pagdating sa healthcare, nabanggit ni Spence about smart monitoring, smart infrastructure. We heard Spence talk about optical sensors. Papunta sa smart city, di ba? Smart town initiative. Now, smart city is good. However, kailangan po muna natin i-ensure ng ating mga constituents are healthy, right? So, smarter city, ang kanilang pivot is really healthy citizens and community. Now, we have solutions in terms of artificial intelligence. Nabanggit ni Spence about unified, about collecting data, from multiple sources para hindi tayo siloed, right? So, pagdating sa healthcare, we piloted this in some LGUs, most recently in Baguio. So, we're in discussion with Mayor Benji Magalong in terms of understanding how do we protect citizens, but at the same time, how do we attract tourists? How do we democratize yung screening? So we have a solution called Genki. Genki is a way to scan X-ray and CT scan to be able to detect and screen and triage suspect COVID patients. So using X-ray. So makikita natin yung probability ng patient. So that will not only democratize yung mass screening natin, and obviously yung sa mga takot agad na magkaroon ng swab test or antigen. So we use that as a first level screening. It's not just being used in the Philippines, but also in other countries. So socially acceptable na siya. Now, pagdating sa citizen, nabanggit natin yung use of AI. So pag-usapan natin sa mga susunod na session, ano ibig sabihin. But essentially, we are collecting a lot of information and using analytics to be able to detect and predict yung occurrence niyan or patterns. Now, pag ginamit natin yan sa LGU, it allows governments to leverage data. And I'm sure marami tayong kinokollect na data, not only health-related data, but especially in the City Hall and potentially sa mga barangay, na pagka meron tayong data, na-improve natin at nabibigyan natin, yan, nabanggit kayo ni Mayor, maganda o hindi maganda, na nakokollect natin para maibigay natin yung servisyo at ma-improve natin yung mga services na binibigay natin for our patients.
Thanks,
yes, Spence.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yung next natin is yung classrooms natin. So, yung education natin plays a big role in shaping organizations and shaping LGUs. Yung challenge natin dito is how do we actually transform education in terms of the digital. It's not around the technology itself, but around culture nung change natin and how we are adapting education or digital in the process of education. And when we look at education, hindi lang yan yung sa estudyante yung mga challenge natin. That meron din tayong mga challenges dun sa nagde-deliver ng mga lessons natin, which are the teachers and your educators. Yung access to knowledge or access to information with digital technology, mas madali na because you're now able to get information from not just one source, but across the entire nation, yung mga subject matter experts natin. So pwede tayong mag-connect with them, get their opinions and get their challenges, and get the best way to deliver messaging to our students. At the same time, syempre, yung modules natin, yung the typical way of doing ngayon na classroom remotely is that through the modular nga natin. In the case of, let's say, providing the modules, it can be something of a cultural change to adopt yung modules natin. Ang mahirap din kasi dyan is that pag na-receive ng mga students yung modules natin, na may mga iba na napakiramdam nila, nag-iisa lang sila to create that modules. And the challenge ng estudyante kung paano niya i-absorb yung mga modules na nandyan. When we move to a more digital or virtual interaction, nagkakaroon na ngayon ng direct contact or mentoring yung mga teachers to the students through yung mga live webinars natin or yung mga virtual sessions natin. Hindi na natin kailangan ng face-to-face interaction to provide the knowledge and to share the knowledge to yung mga nangangailangan natin. Next would be yung a more citizen-centric government nga. Chris mentioned yung why nga natin because citizens are now more aware of the government. Yung citizens need to feel connected and to the government and vice versa. The government needs to be more in tune to the citizens as well. There has to be a more consultative planning and feedback mechanism. And that's where digital can come in and it can help them have that faster way of communicating with the citizens. Yung mga things like yung mga websites or mga portals provide two-way information coming from the government and then feedback coming from your citizens. There are some organizations na ang ginagawa, nagbibigay ng incentive para mag-provide ng good information or good na ideas. And that's one way of creating that relationship between the government and the individual. Meron tayong mga digital channels ngayon, katulad ng mga ganitong webinars, yung Zoom, yung Facebook, and even yung instant messaging platforms natin that provide that touch point between the government and the citizens and the vice versa. Together with your traditional means of channels or mediums na yung mga print ads, it provides a more transparent na government to the citizens. At the same time, when we talk about citizen services, meron dyan yung mga digitizing yung typical natin na mga trabaho, katulad ng yung pag-file ng mga forms natin, pwede na natin gawing digital. Yung mga pagbayad natin ng mga transactions natin, this can also be through a contactless or through an electronic way. It allows us to be faster as well as more efficient. For agriculture naman, we've seen yung mga online marketplace that allows people to sell their produce or their products directly to consumers. Ang important kasi dito that because the LGUs are on the front lines and the LGUs are the grassroots nga natin in terms of government is the data that you collect. The data from the different LGUs can be put together and put into a bigger thing called big data for data analytics. This is where we can now learn from the data and act on it. So nabanggit ko kanina about yung strategy on the retailings na natin. Right now, with the traditional way of doing it, syempre, once na may mga farmers tayo, para mapunta yung product nila to yung market or yung tao na magko-consume nun, maraming pagdadaanan yon. So may mga suppliers tayo, may mga marketplace. And in the middle, sometimes medyo yung mga farmers natin, hindi sila nakakapag-provide ng enough profit or revenue because of that. So nakikita namin when it comes to digital transformation in commerce, is that we have what we call, we're transitioning from what we call farm to market to direct farm to table. What that means is that, yun nga, with yung mga farmers natin, they can or LGUs can help them put up an online site para yung mga consumers directly nag-order sa kanila. That way, it's a win-win scenario for everyone. So for the farmers, mas lalaki ang kita nila kasi directly na nabebenta sa kanila. For the consumers, mas cheaper na rin kasi hindi na siya dumadaan sa maraming middlemen. So with all of the digital transformation that we're talking about, ano yung benefit niyan dun sa mga constituents natin? So across everyone, ang ano niyan is that number one, meron tayong accessibility. For the citizens, mas madali na nakakita sila ng information. At the same time, mas madali nilang mahawakan or makausap yung government natin. There's two-way feedback going on everywhere. Yung second niyan is transparency. Chris mentioned this a while ago na mas mahalaga ngayon yung transparency across government and the citizens para nakikita natin walang mga corruption. At the same time, this allows them to trust yung government natin. Sustainability in terms of yun nga, yung micro and small enterprises. The government is there or LGUs are there to enable them to prosper despite being the small scale nila. And digital technology will allow them to do that and compete with bigger markets. There's also inclusivity kasi nga once na may digital tayo, yung mga citizens natin nararamdaman nila nakasama sila sa a bigger community. Not just let's say within one LGU, but across the entire province and across the entire nation. And nakakatulong nga yung digital to help them connect with everyone. And finally, yun nga, yung citizenship nila. When a town or an LGU implements digital, nagkakaroon ka agad ng mga improvements dun sa the way government works and the way the town works. From a citizen, nagiging proud sila na part sila ng isang organization or isang lugar na nakikita na may smart platform or nababawasan yung crime or yung processes nila are very straightforward or very bawas ng red tape. So nagiging proud ng ang mga tao na they are part of that organization or LGU. So ano ba yung kailangan natin to see if there's a digital plan or ano yung pwede natin tingnan on how to do or move with the digital plan. So yung first natin is identify ano ba yung mga challenges natin na pwedeng i-address ng digital. Hindi lahat ng problem pwedeng solusyonan ng digital and hindi basta in-inject natin ng digital, hindi automatic na yun na yung sagot. So we have to understand paano mag-a-align yung dalawa. Yung next is how might digital threats disrupt my business and model in the future. Katulad ng pandemic, hindi natin inaasahan na nagkaroon ng mga problems tayo. I don't think anyone was prepared dun sa pandemic natin. But with the digital threats and disruptions, pwede natin makita ano ba yung pwede nating bawasan in terms of the threats or challenges. What changes need to be made to my process in organizations to adopt digital? We can see, yung digital hindi yan, it doesn't necessarily mean kailangan ko ng malaking budget or kailangan ko ng grand na plan para sa digital. As simple as going paperless, katulad nung sinabi nga ni Mayor na may digital na document management system, nababawasan na yung pagka-dependency natin sa papel. And that's one way and start of doing digital adoption na. Ang next yan is yung return on investment on digital. Siyempre, kahit na anong natin, meron tayong pinapasok dyan. But if we look at yung value nito that it provides to both the organization, the LGU, as well as the citizen, mas madali natin makikita yung return on investment dyan. And lastly, what digital initiatives are best suited for my organization given my current priorities. Again, aligning it yung challenge natin and priorities is important para makita natin yung end value niyan. Yung importance of having the priorities straight, very big yan in terms of success of digital transformation. So with that, I hope everyone was able to learn from our talk. Chris, would you like to add anything else?
Yes, Ben. So thank you for summing up those items that you mentioned a while ago. So I think the LGU is on the right route kasi nabanggit niya kanina that we have the LGU has a globally competitive aspiration, di ba, to become a smart town. And siguro just to recap, yung drivers natin, yung why do we need to transform is really more on the citizen demand, in changing citizen demand sa atin, and the need to solve some of the challenges that we're seeing across all the 5 aspects na nabanggit nga rin kanina. Again, digital talent is very important. So nabanggit ni Spence about yung capacity building. It hindi lang siya talent but also yung consensus. That's why inclusivity, nabanggit natin kanina, is very important na bawat departamento ay involved sa pag-transform. So hindi siya big bang, pwedeng isang departamento muna hanggang palaki. So yun yung mga common misconceptions na kailangan natin ng malaking grand plan for this. While our aspirations are big, we can start small. So those are very important. Government should look at, to recap, strategy, obviously the mindset, nabanggit ni Mayor a while back, workforce, very important, and yung culture, yung pag-adapt natin ng teknolohiya at baguhin yung nakasanayan na natin gawin in terms of converting our people, process, and technology to going digital. At lastly, syempre, yung citizen approach, citizen-centric approach. So lagi natin tanongin, what's in it sa ating mga citizens for us to provide and deliver service sa kanila consistently. So yun, maraming salamat to everyone who joined. Spence, thank you for sharing this stage with me. Stage tayo before, but now online na lang. But that's the way to transform also and leverage technology.
Thanks, Chris. We want to thank the LGU of Balon Bayang Bang for inviting us to this opportunity to share our insights. Thank you, everyone.
Salamat po.
Some of your questions later on during our open forum. And we will just continue to the discussion for the next topic because we have 2 topics this afternoon. And after this, we'll be reading all your questions and we'll try to summarize everything that we have learned from our great speakers this afternoon. Again, thank you very much, Sir Christer and Sir Spencer. I hope to see you soon here in Bayambang. Yan. Not virtually, pero mas maganda siguro dito para mas you could join us in developing the digital transformation in our municipality. Though we started a little already, but then we could the reason bakit po namin sinishare din ito sa ibang bayan kasi it's not good that Bayambang is only the digital town. Dapat yung iba ding mga towns na nakapaligid sa atin because we have to remember there's what we call inclusive growth na sinabi nga kanina ng mga speakers natin. And it's better na mas mabilis yung development not only of the town but the neighboring municipalities. Again, marami pong salamat. Medyo madaldal ako kung marami ako napulot kanina na mga information about digital transformation. Now, we'll be proceeding to the next discussion, which is all about the roadmap for digital transformation for local government. My dear friends, our Technology Officer of Microsoft Philippines and a teaching faculty at the Institute of Corporate Directors, conducting IT-related briefings to corporate boards of publicly listed companies. He was previously a Ford Foundation Fellow, assigned as a resource to the Open Government Partnership, and was the former Undersecretary and Chief Information Officer of the Department of Budget and Management of the Executive Department of the National Government. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to discuss the roadmap for digital transformation for local governments. We have Sir Richard Moya. Sir, good afternoon. Yes, 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 sir. Yes, po. LGU Baguio. LGU Baguio.
And the takeaway is that current disruptive technologies impacts the way we work. And it's already happening. Katulad nitong taong to, nawalan ng trabaho dahil victim siya ng wireless technology. This slide, biktima rin itong mga to ng wireless technology, mga ibon. Ang takeaway naman nito is that not only current disruptive technologies impact the way we do work, in truth, it has actually impacted the way we now live. An example niyan, the world's largest taxi company does not own any vehicle. Dati fleet ang taxi. Ngayon, the biggest taxi companies, they do not own any taxi. The world's biggest media owner does not create any content. Dati, pagka meron kang GMA, ABS, government station, they produce their own content, they distribute it, and then people get to see that content. Ngayon, the biggest media company does not even do or create any of those content. The most valuable retailer does not have any inventory. And the world's largest accommodation provider does not own any real estate. So sabi ni Tom Goodwin, something interesting is happening. Ito yung tinatawag natin ngayon na shared economy. Dati, ang paradigm natin is that if we want to offer something, we have to own it. Right? Ngayon, we're now operating in a new economic model where ownership is not necessary so long as we have access. And these are examples, itong tatlong to, na mga pioneers ng sharing economy. Now, let me switch a little back and then show you this picture. Last November 2019, bago mag-volcano eruption sa Taal at bago tayo mag-lockdown, noong November 2019, nagkaroon ng flooding sa Venice, no? And this was a photo in a newspaper of that flooding in Venice. It's here because during that time na may flooding, nagmi-meet ang konsihal ng Venice behind the flooding. Ang pinag-uusapan nila, hulaan niyo kung ano, whether they will adopt a resolution mitigating the effects of climate change during the flood. The point I want to make is that oftentimes, lalo tayo sa gobyerno, sometimes the event is already occurring and we are still contemplating regulations and rules in order to prevent something that is already happening. So hindi siya proactive, hindi rin siya forward-looking. So this is a good example. In fact, tinuro sa akin, because I used to work in the public sector also, isang nagsabi sa akin, Bon, you have to remember, it was not raining when they built the ark. And the reason for that is that sometimes when you see it rain, it's the last thing you will see. So ang puntos dito, if digital transformation is something that we're contemplating now, and I heard kanina na matagal yun ang ginagawa to, oftentimes, we prepare when the diluvio is already with us. And parts of that is already happening now with the current pandemic. So sometimes we need to look forward and think ahead and prepare for the future before the rain starts to happen. So part of that context, sabi nga nila, Christopher kanina, nagbabago na yung mundo natin. Pati yung tinatawag nilang Fourth Industrial Revolution. Yung First Industrial Revolution was in Great Britain for those producing clothes. Dati mano-mano ang paggawa ng damit. So na-invento yung steam engine And then sinabi nila, maybe we should create machines to make us make clothes faster. And it's the same issues we're having now. Sabi ng mga naggagawa ng damit, mawawalan kami ng trabaho. Mamamatay na kaming lahat. Hindi makakabuti sa atin yan kasi hindi makatao ang pagkuha ng makina para gumawa ng damit. Ang effect niyan, of course, is that mas numura ang damit. And therefore, nung nagmura ang damit, maraming nakinabang sa damit. And lo and behold, merong temporary disruption of work, pero overall, mas dumami ang trabaho na na-create. Kasi meron nang nagre-retail, meron nang nagpa-package, meron nang nag-wholesale, at meron nang nagpiprint ng t-shirt. So any disruptive change in the economy destroys a sector of the economy, but also creates more value. Fast forward, yung industrial revolution, yung second industrial revolution, dahil na-invento yung combustible engine, merong isang proponent na industrialist, si Henry Ford. Sabi ni Henry Ford, alam mo, mas efficient kung lahat ng tao magko-converge into a single production area. So ang tawag nila dyan as, nakakalimutan ko. But essentially, it's a factory. So people converge so that they can become more efficient in producing the goods and the services. So much so, and this was started in 1870. Pero alam nyo ba, 1872, marami sa mga batas natin ngayon at mga practice natin ngayon based on that 1870 Second Industrial Revolution. Example, pag lagi kang late, after a while, kukonvert yan to a wall. After number of a wall, you will be kicked out. I think, hindi ko alam kung ano yung rules eh. Basta if you're a wall for consecutive times or X number of times, you can be kicked out. If you're late, after a while, you will be converted to a wall. After a while, you will be kicked out. But if you're stupid, or you're slow, or you're not productive, ang hirap tanggalin. And the reason is that the paradigm in the Second Industrial Revolution is that everyone needs to come into a single production area. So pagka-late ka, or hindi ka sumipot, naapektuhan yung buong production area. And therefore, we created laws to preserve and protect the efficiency of the centralized production area. Kaya nga ngayon, ang bayad sa atin based on time, hindi based on productivity. Night differential, overtime work, bonuses is based on the hours work, not on the output. Pero ngayon, kini-question na yan ngayon ng bagong ekonomiya. Right? And this is pervaded in healthcare. Pag may sakit, everyone goes to the hospital or the centralized clinic. They dispense services and medicines and then they go home. Ang edukasyon, Second Industrial Revolution concept, everyone comes together, goes through the same lesson for grade 1, takes the same exam, and then when they pass the same exam, they get evaluated uniformly, and then they progress to the next level, and then repeat rinse hanggang matapos sila ng elementary, hanggang matapos. It's a second industrial paradigm. It's built in the 1870s, in the early 1900s. That's how many of our laws. Ang problema ngayon, nasa shared economy na tayo, tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, pero ang mga batas natin at mga mindset natin, nasa centralized production area. That is why for the longest time, hirap na hirap tayong imaginein na work from home. Kasi in our mind, kailangan may opisina, kailangan may munisipyo, kailangan mag-converge lahat sa munisipyo for us to be productive. Ngayon, naki-question yung premise na yan. So that now, people are realizing that we can actually deliver some value and we can deliver some basic services even without converging into a central. Ito yung tinatawag nilang Fourth Industrial Revolution. And now, we're blurring the physical and the digital divide. So, itong digital disruption, it's now forcing companies, governments, leaderships, into rethinking and reimagining themselves. Kasi nagta-transition na yung industry. Example, dati, pag bibili ka ng t-shirt, small, medium, large lang. Right? Yun lang ang mabibili mo. Eh, medyo kung maliit ka, tapos wide ka, hirap na hirap ka kasi hindi mo alam kung small ka o XXL ka kasi malaki yung tiyan mo. The point is now, because data is available in real time, people can now tailor the services and products they have for the employees. A good example is your cell phone. If you have your cell phone now, your cell phone is highly tailored to you. The application that is running there is unique to you. The password, the voice that activates it is unique to you. The cover is unique to you. The background is unique to you. So lahat more and more highly tailored na sa mga constituent. And the reason is that now we're getting to see more feedback and more data points from the consumer. Part of that driving that is the social network. So for example, in a local government unit, pag minomonitor niyo yung mga local government feeds ng mga association at mga individual at mga citizens nyo, then you can get a better pulse of what they want and what they want to happen at a shorter time, allowing you a shorter reaction time. Another area that's changing is manufacturing. Ganun din, yung sabi ko, central paradigm rule. Dati, isang planta, papasok tayong lahat sa planta. Ngayon, ang nangyayari na, tinatawag nila connected environment. Isang portion gagawin sa isang lugar, sa isang municipality. Isang portion gagawin sa separate municipality. And then because their systems are interconnected and their supplies are interconnected and the demand for the supplies are interconnected, it's only when they need to assemble everything that all of those are delivered into a central area, thereby reducing the cost of production. Nangyayari na rin po yan ngayon sa manufacturing. Ito yung mas importante, yung healthcare. Dati, kailangan kang pumunta sa doktor para magamot ka. Ngayon, dahil may digital ability na yung mga doktor at may access na sila sa information, mas mabilis mag-deliver niyan, minsan kahit hindi ka na bumisita sa doktor. Marami na akong alam na doktor na nangungonsulta using the same medium that we're having now. It then allows them, it saves them so much time traveling, it saves the citizen. Imagine mo may sakit ka, tapos paakantayin kang isang oras sa clinic kasi marami pang ina-attendan yung doktor. Hindi mo naman masisi kasi ayaw mo namang madaliin ng doktor yung pasyente. So ikaw may sakit, nandudong ka sa labas, nag-aantay ka ng isang oras, nagkakalat ka ng sakit. But now with this technology, it has now allowed us to dispense and manage healthcare services even without having to be present. More importantly, because of AI, for example, nagiging predictive. Nag-change ang medicine natin from reactive to predictive. Example, sa India, for example, maraming may TB. Tayo mga Pinoy, 80 plus yata ang may TB rate sa atin. That's why almost regularly, hinihingian tayo ng x-ray. Ganyan din sa India. But since India has a bigger population and everyone's required to get an x-ray, ang daming x-ray na tinitignan. So what they did was, iscan natin ng x-ray nyo, let's digitize all our x-ray, and then let's start to create an AI that will then identify. Kasi 9 out of 10 times, wala ka namang TB. And then they did using AI, they did an application that actually diagnosed whether you are not TB. And therefore, naiwan na lang 5%. Yung 5%, yun na lang ang tinitignan ng mga doktor, thereby increasing their efficiency to 95%. What they found out was that after X number of data, and I do remember, merong partner si NTT that actually does this. After a while, marami na silang data, nagsisimula na silang mag-predict. So for example, itong image na to ngayon, wala kang TV. Pero since itong image na to, na-learn namin from 2,000, 3,000 other x-rays, in 5 years, magkakaroon ka ng cancer sa lungs. So now, you have 5 years to treat it before the cancer comes in. So yung tinatawag nilang predictive modeling ng health, based on propensity, based on machine learning, and based on AI. And therefore, allows you to manage that way before it happens. No? So nag-shift na rin yung ating medical. And that's really exciting. And then of course, finally, banking hours. Gone were the time, if you are my age, ang bangko sarado na ng alas 3. Monday, it starts at 10, closes at 3. Sabi ko, grabe naman yan. Pera ko na yung hinahandle nila. Ang hirap pang ma-access. But now, banks have evolved. First, they extended the office hours. Then they had the ATM, so you don't have to go to the cashier, freeing the cashier to do other things. And then, all banks now have an ATM in front. Ang point nyon, gawin mo na yung trabaho mo, mag-self-service ka na. Yun lang mga importante ang kailangan pumasok, thereby expanding their efficiency. Ngayon, nag-digital na siya, hindi na siya office hours. And again, paradigm ng Second Industrial Revolution, you have to go to a bank to do banking services. Wala na rin yun ngayon. Now, all of those are available on the phone. Buti na lang nangyari. Kasi nung nag-pandemic, patay tayong marami sa atin. Ako in particular, hindi ka makabiling pagkain, hindi ka makabili ng gamot, hindi ka makasubscribe sa Netflix. Kasi kung walang bangko, hindi mo magagawa yun. Mauubusan ka ng pera. So now, because of all the banking apps, you can now pay all of those and manage your funds and transfer funds and pay bills using your phone. In fact, ngayon, halos wala ng bangko ang walang mobile app. It has already progressed there. Check. So anyway, those are all that's the background of digital transformation. Pero many times, sabi nga nung previous speaker natin, we always think of digital transformation, yung technology part, yung digital part. It's not true. It's really just the use of fast and frequently changing digital technology to solve problems. So it is about transforming the processes that were non-digital into a digital process. So it's the transformation. Sa digital transformation, the heart of it is the transformation part, not the digital parts. Simply because bumili ka ng server, nag-subscribe ka sa Azure, bumili ka ng Dynamics, doesn't mean you're digitally transformed. You have to also, more importantly, transform your processes in order to truly reap the benefits of digital transformation. So now we find ourselves here in COVID. And now everyone is doing remote everything. Pero long before, sinasabi na natin yan sa noon, bakit nagta-traffic tayo 3 billion pesos wasted daily on traffic alone? So dapat pag-isipan na natin ng say remote working. Sabi ng ng gobyerno ng marami sa atin, ang sabi nila, hindi pwede yan, hindi pwede kesyo ganito, kesyo ganyan, mahina internet, so on and so forth. Lo and behold, nagka-COVID. But long before that, we already had some malaise. That's the traffic that could have transitioned us into a remote environment, but we did not and had to wait for COVID. So nangyari, because of COVID, sa amin, sa Microsoft, yung 2 years of digital transformation, 2 buwan. This was last year, between March and April. So yung 2 years worth of digital transformation, as a company, as an organization, and outside, nangyari ng 2 buwan. Kaya pala. Alright? So sometimes, ang lesson dito sa ating mga policymakers, saka mga leaders at mga public sector civil servants is that sometimes it's really just in our minds na hindi pa pwede. And the other point is that we didn't have to wait for this to happen for us to start doing this transition. So now, hindi lang tayo remote work. We are now a remote everything. Remote school, okay? Remote grocery, remote shopping, remote everything nga ang tawag nila ngayon. And I think that hindi na siya babalik. It's a genie that's it's Pandora's box. Hindi mo na siya mababalik. I don't think that even when we overcome the pandemic, that we are all vaccinated and we have immunity, that many of us will not be going back to the old. And it's always good to now use this as an occasion to leapfrog and move forward in our digital transformation, rather than to see this whole activity as an interim activity and then babalik ka sa normal. Hindi ka nag-progress, hindi ka nag-evolve, no? So I think that's a perspective that's important. Now, I will run you through 4 factors that will lead into a conclusion. Not yet. So susunod pa pala yan, mali itong slide. So anyway, balik tayo sa digital transformation. Ang purpose ng digital transformation is not to look modern or to look good. The purpose is to generate new value or to generate better value. So if you're doing a digital transformation and you're not making or creating any new value, you're not doing digital transformation. All right? So the greatest mistake or trap that we see time and again is people try to create new value by looking at technology for the answer. There is an idea that if you just use more technology, we'll see things improve. That is not true. I do know of several organizations that have procured tons and tons of equipment, pero walang improvement in the creation of value. Because in the end, digital transformation is first and foremost a people story. It's really people plus technology, hindi technology that changes people. It's about people that commit to improve and create new value. By thinking first about how we can help people to achieve more, we can uncover the true role of technology. It's just a tool, a way of helping people do amazing things, solve bigger problems, create more rewarding experiences, and create more value. Okay? So the purpose of digital transformation, sabi nga kanina, is simply a process to help your organization find new ways of generating value. So if you're not generating any value or you're not solving any problem just because you have digital tools, doesn't mean that there's digital transformation. Ito may study, sinabi na 91% of business leaders see digital transformation as a way of sparking innovation and finding efficiencies. Totoo naman yun. When you digitize, your throughput increases and your ability to react becomes faster. 68% say it increases their profit. Of course, walang impact yan sa atin sa public sector kasi hindi naman tayo nag-generate ng profit. 85% say they must offer digital services or become irrelevant. Maraming bangko, pag hindi ka maka-offer ng digital services, wala na. Maraming retail shop ng mga mall na marami tayong ininvest. I'm sure meron diyang mall sa inyo na pag hindi nag-offer ng digital services, they will become irrelevant. In fact, now, it is upending many traditional businesses. And 64% say they have less than 4 years to complete a digital transformation or they will go out of business. Ang maganda niyan sa gobyerno, you will not go out of business. Except that if people, you are not responsive to the requirements of the people, every 3 years, they will vote you out if they do not see that you are attending to their requirements. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. Nung bata ako, hindi pa pala ito. Nung bata ako, gusto ko ng superpowers. I'm sure lahat kayo superpowers. So yung mga kapitbahay namin sabi, ako gusto ko nakakalipad. Ako gusto ko na babasa ko yung isip mo. Pero ako, ang gusto ko nung bata ako, maging invisible. The Invisible Man. In fact, may book niyan si H.G. Wells, The Invisible Man. Yun ang superpower na gusto ko. And mostly for very naughty reasons. But the truth is, as I become more mature and I become older, I realize that the real superpower is not to make me invisible. The real superpower is to make the invisible visible. Ano ibig sabihin yan? For example, taxi. Dati, para makamasakay ng taxi, tatayo ka sa kanto, magpipray ka kay Lord, Lord, padaanin mo naman ng taxi, nagmamadali ako. Kasi hindi visible sa iyo kung sino yung mga taxi unless nasa harapan mo na sila. Right? In the same manner, yung gustong sumakay ng taxi, hindi visible dun sa taxi driver. Kasi drive lang siya ng drive. Sabi niya, Lord, sana makahanap kagad ako ng sayang gasolina ko. Hindi pa ako kumukota today. Kasi invisible sa driver yung supply, hindi invisible yung demand, invisible sa pasahero yung supply. So nagkaroon ng application called Uber and then eventually si Grab. Ang ginagawa lang ni Uber and Grab, ginagawa niya lang yung visible kung nasaan yung demand, nasaan yung gusto ng saan pupunta, nasaan siya, at paano mo puntahan. In the same manner, nakikita ngayon ng pasahero kung nasaan na yung taxi para pag kinol ko siya, kahit hindi ko pa siya nakikita, pupunta na siya sa akin. They created new value. And now we have a new business model of transportation, Grab and Uber. And that's what digital technology does. Okay? Sa atin sa gobyerno, lahat tayo nagsasabi, tulungan natin ang mga mahihirap. Let's eradicate poverty and attend to our constituency, the poor, or the elderly, or the disabled. Eh, nasaan ang elderly? Nasaan ang disabled? They're invisible to you unless kausap mo sila tapat-tapat. And that's the power of digital transformation. They can make all these people visible to you and their concerns visible to you very quickly so that then you can react and create new value. Part of that answer is that those that are invisible are now in the social network and now all of a sudden they're visible to you and now you have the opportunity to attend to their needs. So balik tayo sa superpower. Dati, ang superpower maging invisible. Ang totoong superpower, gawing visible yung mga hindi nakikita. And to do this, meron kaming tinatawag na digital transformation model. No? Normally, in an organization, even in public sector, meron kang nag-i-engage ng customer, so in our case, nag-i-engage ng citizenry, meron kang internal operation, munisipyo, basura, police, local health workers, so on and so forth. Meron kang ngayong sa ilalim na dito sa corporate transform product, pero sa public sector policy makers. And then meron kang hiring. Okay? Lahat yan nag-generate ng signal. And all of those signal need to be captured digitally at source. So for example, every time nag-engage ako ng customer, if I use an app, I capture that signal. Ilang beses, magkano, anong oras, sino sila, ano yung demographic. No? I capture them when I engage them. At the same time, pagdating sa office, every time nagdi-deploy kami ng patulong ng pabigay ng bigas, may operation yan, if I capture that signal digitally, then I have visibility of all those signal. Right? Ganun din sa policy. Every time I create a law on parking, on whatever policy that you do, you create digital signals. And then clearly, when you hire your employees, you also generate, ino ba yung hire natin, ilang taon na sa atin, magkano sweldo, ano yung skill set, right? So, we generate data. Ang problema, marami dito sa data, first, hindi digitally captured. So if you do that, yung first step mo is to capture it digitally. After you do that, the second one is that you need to now flow that data across all. Hindi dapat yung nakikita ng frontliners, nakikita ng policymaker. Yung nakikita ng operation, nakikita ng hiring. Example, magandang example, yung tourism. Majority of our tourists are Koreans. And therefore, if you're in the tourism department, when you hire people, you should hire people that learn, that know and understand Koreans, because they now need to engage them. Because your data point is showing that X% of your tourist arrivals are Korean, and therefore you should address that. Okay, putting all those data signals together creates intelligence. Okay, hindi sufficient na data lang. Kasi data, listahan ng number, ng pangalan, ng edad, etc. You now need to synthesize all of those to create intelligence. Okay. It turns out na 70% ng action natin are from people na ang concern lang parking. Example lang, kasi hindi man ako familiar sa situation nyo. And therefore, correspondingly, you now need to tweak your organization so that you can be 70% of your resources can respond to parking more quickly. Because now there's shared intelligence going around the whole organization. Organization pa lang yan. Dapat yan sa local government, buong local government. Signals from garbage collection, signal from tax collection, signal from business renewals, signal from fire incidences, signal from police incidences, signal from traffic, signal from tourism, ano pa ba? Nakalimutan natin. Signal from economic activity sa palengke, economic activity sa pier, at economic activity sa bukid, kung meron tayong bukid. All of those now need to come generate intelligence. Pero sabi nga sa Biblia, sa Book of James, faith without works is dead. So intelligence without action is also dead. So therefore, for that to meet digital transformation to happen, that data point need to translate into intelligence, the intelligence need to translate into action items, and then action. Otherwise, hindi kumpleto yung digital feedback loop niya. Right? So yun yung importante. In fact, if you can only remember this, ito na lang. So that means that signals coming from the different parts contribute to making your service delivery better, to your policies better, to your hiring better, and to your operations more efficient. Okay. Check. Medyo mabilis. Alright, ito yung favorite ko. Alam niyo naman, archipelago tayo. How many islands? Lalo dyan sa lugar ninyo, maraming islands dyan. Sa Pangasinan, sa province. I don't know about the municipality. So we're now an archipelago, 7,500 plus islands. In the old order, nung Industrial Revolution, yung contiguous mass is beneficial for a production area. Kasi they can put the bigger plant, connect the railways, connect the supply of oil and metal and other raw products into an area, and then produce and then distribute. Lugi ka pag archipelago ka. That's why in the old order, pag archipelago ka, medyo hirap. Polynesia, Indonesia, the Philippine archipelago, medyo hirap nung Second Industrial Revolution. But let me cite to you several things. Number one, yung Pilipinas, as you all know, we won the jackpot lottery on natural disasters. You think about it, we have it. Name it, we have it. Bagyo, check. Baha, check. Drought, check. Lindol, check. Volcano, check. Hindi lang siya present, frequent sa atin. So much so that UNESCO, the United Nations considered us the third most vulnerable in a 2012 study. So clear yan, self-explanatory. Lagi tayong may natural disasters. Why am I pointing this out? Pag may natural disaster, tigil ang operation. Baha, hindi makatrabaho or hindi efficient ang trabaho. Volcano, eruption, yes, yun naman magtatrabaho pag volcanic eruption. And so on and so forth. So check. Point number one, tandaan niyo po yan kasi magbaano tayo dyan. Point number two, we're one of the largest diaspora population in the globe as a percentage of the population. Ano yung ibig sabihin diaspora? Maraming OFW lumalabas. Hindi lang yung workers, pati yung mga migrants. So much so that I think around 11% of our population sometime or some point are overseas. Right? Ano ibig sabihin yan? 11% ng botante mo, 11% ng constituents mo, wala dyan sa inyo, nasa labas. And if you're not present where they are, like the social network, or your services cannot be accessed digitally, then hindi nyo nasiservisyuhan yung 11% ng constituency niyo. Minsan natatalo ka sa eleksyon ng 1-2%. Pero 11% hindi mo natatap kasi hindi nyo ma-access, kasi hindi ka digitally transformed. Number 2, diaspora. Number 3, the truth is, except for last year and maybe this year, knock on wood, our economy has really been growing steadily at around 6%. Nag-decline lang tayo last year because of the pandemic, likely because of the continuing nature of the lockdown, mababa tayo this year. But for the last 2 decades, we have been growing about 6%. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin, as a country, as individuals, mas affluent tayo ngayon than we were 20 years ago. Ibig sabihin, meron tayong spare money to invest on technology. So much so that lahat ngayon may cellphone. In fact, lahat ng nanonood ngayon, kukurutin ko yung sarili ko pag wala kayong cellphone. Ang cellphone ratio ng Pilipinas, 105%. Mas maraming cellphone kaysa Pinoy sa Pilipinas. Kasi yung iba sa atin, dalawa. So on and so forth. So, because our economy has been growing, we can now start investing in productivity tools. And the most productive productivity tool is really digital tools. Check. And then finally, Filipinos embrace digital. Noong 2018, 45% ng adult internet users. Sinasabi nila, mahirap mag-internet, mahirap, pangit ang internet namin. Teka po, the truth is, we're having this one and you're learning online. Number 2, hindi na ho 1980s ngayon, 2000 na. In fact, when you do an audit, everyone will have access one way or the other. True, our internet can be improved, but it has been improving. And more than half our population already have access to broadband, right? And we spend a lot of time on connection. And that 9 out of 10 Filipinos are in the social media. So if you want to say something, 9 of every 10, if you're not in the social network site, you're not where your constituents are, because that's where they are. So pag pinagsama-sama mo uli yun, ano yung number 1? Jackpot ng national disaster, laging may downtime. Number 2, diaspora, marami sa atin nakakalat sa buong mundo. Number 3, nagiging affluent tayo, A, B, C. Ano yung number 3 natin? Patingin nga ulit. Steadily increasing. And then number 4, we embrace digital. Ang conclusion yan, ang Pilipinas is a natural cloud client. We are a naturally fit to put our systems and ecosystem in the cloud. Why? Pag may bagyo, may baha, may lindol, it doesn't matter kasi ang server mo wala dyan sa inyo. Ang server nyo nasa cloud, fully redundant. So kahit bumabaha dito, na-access pa rin yung basic services nyo at basic information. Number 2, ano ba yung number 2 natin? Overseas. It doesn't matter because your services are now being offered digitally over the cloud, so that whether you are in the Middle East, you are in Singapore, you are in the US, you are in Canada, you are in Brazil, you are in Nigeria, they can access your services because now you're present in a virtual place where everyone is. Check. So yun ang takeaway. And look at these numbers. 105 million, 152 million ang may mobile connection. 138%. 67% are internet users. 67%. 7 sa bawat 10 meron. Si nanay na lang, si lola na lang ang hindi nag-i-internet sa atin. And 80% are active social media users. So ibig sabihin, ang constituency ko, ang mga botante ko, ang mga pinagsisilbihan ko are in this sphere. And therefore, it's almost criminal for me or bad leadership for me not to be present where they are. At sinasabi nila mahirap kasi yung mga batas natin hindi pa pwede. That's not true. Yung Data Privacy Act 2012 pa, it protects your citizens from intrusions. So meron na yan. Yung E-Commerce Act, 2 dekada na po. Ngayon, nagpipipilit pa rin tayo ng signature. Hindi po pwede yan, ma'am. Kailangan kayo pumunta dito, kailangan nyo ng pirma. Sandali lang, 21 years na ang E-Commerce Act. Ang sinasabi sa E-Commerce Act, digital signature has the same legal effect as a wet signature. Meron na tayong Telecommute Act noong 2018 sa private sector lang, hindi sa gobyerno. That means that we already have some rules regulating work from home. Merong DICT Act that will set policies. Tapos yung DICT merong cloud first policy. Ito, ulitin ko lang sa Section 6 ng E-Commerce Act. 21 years ago, 2 dekada. Legal recognition of electronic documents. Electronic documents shall have the legal effect, validity, or enforceability as any other document or legal writing. Kaya hindi ko maintindihan bakit nagpipipilit pa rin sa papel ang mga tao. Meron namang enabling environment to do that. Something to think about. Gusto natin maging digitally transformed, pero nagpipipilit tayo ng signature. Gusto natin digitally transformed, nagpipipilit tayo ng cheque. Gusto natin digitally transform, ang payroll natin nakasobre. So focus on 4 areas to unlock value. Wag na yan. Hindi na yan ano. So, sa enabling environment natin, dati kasi, pag may problema, control. Naku, may mataas ang presyo, kontrolin ang presyo, mag-press release tayo ng presyo. Naku, mabagal ang serbisyo natin sa X. Kontrolin natin, paluin natin para magkaroon ng X. Ang mindset, pag may problema, ang sagot, control. But the truth is, because of the changes, we now need to shift from controlling to empowering. Hindi mo pwedeng kontrolin yung mga empleyado para pumunta sa munisipyo para magtrabaho. I-empower mo sila, so kahit saan sila pumunta, kaya nilang gawin yung trabaho nila. Katulad namin, nagtuturo kami ngayon sa inyo. Hindi na kami kailangan pumunta ng Pangasinan. Kasi we are empowered to deliver these things to you. In the same manner, you are required to start thinking, how do I empower my civil servants to do their work rather than control them to do their work? You must learn, and your systems, processes, procedures, leadership, and culture should enable them to do the right thing wherever they are. Example, digital payments. Nakakatanggap ba kayo ng bayad digitally? Pwede na bang credit card sa inyo? Huwag na natin pag-usapan ng Bitcoin. Credit card na lang, at saka debit card, at saka GCash, at saka smart money. Can you do that? O kailangan pa nila ng totoong pera? Something to think about. Yung digital documents, do you recognize it? O kailangan nyo pang mahawak yung duplicate na may carbon copy? Kasi pareho lang naman yung laman nun. Yung medium lang yung magkaiba. Ang signature, do you recognize digital signatures? So again, ulitin ko, gusto natin mag-digitally transform. Ang dami nating iniisip na mobile app, medyo etc. etc. Umpisahan natin dito. I don't need the physical signatures. I don't need physical paper. I don't need physical payment. Yung tatlo lang. Kalahati ng service delivery nyo, digital na. Meron ba kayong digital identification system? Galit na galit tayo sa ID. Gusto natin mag-issue ng ID. ID sa senior citizen, ID sa bawal sa curfew, ID sa mga health workers, ID sa... Meron ba tayong digital identification system? That only works ID if you need to see them face-to-face. But if you don't need to see them face-to-face, both your employees and your constituencies, if you cannot identify them digitally, hindi mo maservisyohan digitally. So kailangan nyo ng, sa inyong roadmap, kailangan nyo ng digital identification system to identify internal organization ng your constituency. Sabi nga ng aming CEO, dati merong brick and mortar traditional company, merong high-tech company. Wala na yan ngayon. Lahat na ngayon, digital company. So if you're doing retailing, you have to be a digital company doing retailing. If you're doing airline industry, you have to be a digital company doing airline. If you're a government offering services, you have to be a digital government offering services to your constituency. And in a world where data rules, all companies are tech companies, sabi ni Daniel Newman. And in this new environment, trust is the new currency. Ito importante. Iniisip lang natin sa system, yung program, yung software, yung capability, at saka yung infrastructure. Ang totoo niyan, kailangan mong mag-create ng trust. Because, for example, sa Grab, pag nag-order ako ng Grab, meron akong degree of trust that the Grab will come to me and that the Grab will actually pick me up where I am. And that the Grab driver has trust that you actually ordered or requested for the transportation and you have the ability to pay. Yan ang kailangan i-build natin sa system natin. So the digital transformation investment should not be viewed as an operational expense but as an asset that generates the trust currency. Lalo sa governance. Kung importante yan sa negosyo, mas lalong importante ang trust sa governance. So all our digital transformation must create, generate, reinforce, and expand trust within the relationship. So yung enabling environment, ito, in our thinking, to build the foundation of trust, you have to have security, privacy and control, compliance, and sabi nga kanina, transparency. Ito pa isa, who's in charge? Ang future ng gobyerno natin, nakatali sa digital transformation. Check, very good. Kasi yung constituent namin, digital. Check, very good. Who's in charge? Ay, yung aming supervisor, in charge yan sa aming mga computerization system. So, yung future ng governance nyo, ang in charge supervisor. Tapos pag pumalpak, nagtataka ka, bakit kaya hindi natatapos? Kasi ang in charge mali. Dapat ang in charge yung highest executive at lahat ng leadership. Because it's not a technology process or a technology approach, it's a transformation problem. Okay? Something to think about when you have more data and you need to secure your data. When you have access to more personal and private information, you have to observe privacy. When you are now digital, it exposes you to more digital attacks. Ano ibig sabihin? Huwag ka na lang mag-digital? Hindi. You have to beef up your cybersecurity as well. And then moving forward, because the changes happen more frequently at a shorter time intervals, you need to constantly think, what's the next thing that we need to start preparing for now? So that's your innovation. Finally, we're coming to the tail end. Lalo sa atin sa public sector, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So as we progress and we create new technology, facial recognition, allowing us to see things that our constituencies do, we gather data that allows us to have an idea on the propensity, kaya nang gawin lahat yan ng technology. Ang tanong dapat bang gawin ng mga organization natin? So we have to have an ethical framework, a groundwork, and a policy and some laws that allow us now to limit the way we need to use technology just so that it will not be abused. Everyone, every party, the governed and the governing should have a ethical framework for the responsible use of technology. Okay? So when you change your 3 levels of changes as part of your roadmap when you think about it. First, you can change your product or your service. Okay? I-digital mo yung service mo. So dati, ang sedula, mano-mano. Ngayon, sedula, ginagamit ko ba yung sedula? Hindi ko alam. Digital na. Dati, ang renewal ng business, serbisyo, pupunta ka sa munisipyo, ngayon pwede na online. So change digitally transform the product or services. Pwede naman digitally transform the citizen experience. Dati, pag mag-i-inquiry ako, tatawag ako sa munisipyo. Yung hirap-hirap, inaantay ko pa sa phone. Ngayon, lahat ng information online, so they don't need to call you. Whether it's 12 in the midnight, alas 2, alas 3, I can access these services because now it's available online or available on my phone. So I did not change my services, I just changed the way I deliver it to my constituency. Or ultimately, change your governance model. So for example, dati trabaho natin, maghanap ng trabaho. So ngayon, gagawin nyo, dahil digitally enabled ka na, kukunin mo yung mga signals ng mga gumraduate sa inyo, kukunin mo yung mga signals ng lahat na naghahanap ng trabaho sa munisipyo nyo, you put them together, and lo and behold, you now have a new governance mode. Ang trabaho mo ngayon, ilapit ang supply ng trabaho sa mga naghahanap ng trabaho and then bridge them together. You just change the digital model. You don't have to do it. In the end, dami naman yan. Ayoko naman yan. Mahahack lang din yan. Ganito na lang kami. Babalik na lang kami dito. You should stay analog. Wala namang problema doon. Right? Pero kita nyo to, abacus. Meron ba sa inyong gumagamit ng abacus sa office? Wala. Kasi nakakatawa pag kami pumunta doon tapos nag-abacus pa na gano'n. So ganun din yun pag hindi ka nagbago. Para kang gumagamit ng abacus doon sa panahon na everyone is using computing devices or calculator. Right? So your digital transformation is not a master move. Huwag ho kayong maniwala sa mga tao na nagsasabi, ito ho ang gagawin nyo, okay na kayo. Because it's never a one-size-fits-all scenario. The notion of executing a massive disruption in a single chess move is part of the problem. It's not just one move. It's a series of moves. And it's not just one big push. It's a series of small pushes that bring you towards a digital transformation. And it's never a one-size-fits-all. Just because you did it this way doesn't mean that the next municipality will have to do it that way, because some of the governance structure, some of the talent skill, talent pool, access to technology are different. The point is to always iterate towards constantly improving digital situation rather than imitating someone. Right? So finally, this is the slide. This is really ultimately summarizes digital transformation. The drawing is the analog, dinagawit lapis. So nagsiswitch siya from drawing sa lapis to drawing into a tablet. That's the digital switching from digital. Pero dito sa picture, ang pinaka-importante hindi yung drawing na analog or the tablet that now you use to draw. Ang pinaka-importante rito, yung kamay. Because in the end, back to what I said before, it's a people story. So in a digital transformation, the most important and most critical asset that you need to attend to are the people who will then use that technology and expand that technology. And if you don't focus your digital transformation on your people and your constituent, you will likely fail in that digital transformation. And so that's the end of my presentation. Maybe later we'll have some question and answer and then we can answer some of the questions. So yun lang po, maraming salamat.
For that very comprehensive discussion. about the topic Roadmap for Digital Transformation for Local Government. I just really wanted yung quote na sinabi ni Sir kanina that the superhero is not being invisible but making invisible visible. Yun siguro yung magandang bagay na yan natin dito. And then for digital transformation, it's not actually just the LGU, but it should also be the people na ma-educate on the proper, on the real digital transformation. That's the reason why we tried also to put this one sa Facebook for live, for FB live viewing po, para at least the citizens, ang mga kababayan natin could also reach out at malaman nila itong digital transformation na ginagawa natin dito sa LGU Bayambang. Sir, again, marami pong salamat for that a very comprehensive discussion that you shared to us this afternoon po. And this time, we'll be reading some questions po for our speakers. I believe Sir Christopher Cruz and Sir Spencer Chu and Sir Ronald will be, Richard, Moya will be answering some of the questions that we are seeing in our chat group and on the FB Live. Actually, beforehand po niyan, meron na rin po kami mga nalista mga questions while we are having this, before we have this webinar sessions po. So, the first question, this is actually not the first question po. I'm not sure kung sino sa inyo pong tatlo yung pwede pong sumagot nito, but this is actually a question of most of the local government units that we have invited. Magkano to shift from digital government or digital LGU? How much it will entail for a local government to have this digital transformation? Just to give an idea for the local governments, other local governments units that joining us this afternoon.
Si Spencer siguro muna. Hindi na ako lang.
Sige. So what we mentioned kanina, hindi naman siya kailangan, digital transformation doesn't have to be a grand approach. You can start very small. Katulad ng paperless. It's not that difficult to have paperless kasi marami na tayong tools available to allow us to do paperless. Katulad na nabanggit nga na ni Sir Bon Moya na yung signature is something that you can do na digital. And hindi siya, hindi lahat ng bagay na ganun kailangan maglabas ka agad tayo ng malaking pera. It can be very small. And nabanggit din kanina that the Philippines is a good place to start when we talk about digital transformation kasi nga meron tayong technology such as yung cloud. The cloud allows us to have a very small footprint. You can start from the very basic na parang free service siya all the way to a bigger scale na pero parang national scale na siya. Pero you can start from the very smallest na parang free and then upgrade dahan-dahan yan. Ang kagandahan nga yan is that hindi, especially with the micro and the small, hindi kailangan sila maglabas ng upfront investment. So hindi na siya capital expense na yun. Pwede siyang operating expense na kung kailangan mong maglaki, kailangan mong maliit lang, the perfect yung size niya para lang sa environment mo. So hindi siya kailangan malaking effort or malaking investment. You can start small, very small hanggang up to yung point na free siya and then grow depending on anong kailanganin niyo, no?
Yeah, so parang na kanina napakinggan ko po kanina is that the simple document management system is already a big shift to digital government or digital LGU. So, yun kasi
May I, sir?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, you were saying something?
Sige po.
Okay. I think mali yung tanong, price. I think ang tinatanong, value. Anong value yung gine-generate natin? And then, it's the wrong question to ask because, as sabi nga ni Spencer, broad yung range ng digital transformation. Some we can answer fairly quickly. Ang online subscription ng productivity modern workplace is really just a few dollars per employee per year. So i-multiply mo yan, number of employees times X dollars, tapos ang costing mo. Some of it, storage cost, madaling computing yan. But the application behind it, the subscription behind it, ano yung appetite nyo to do it? At ano yung capability? Kasi ang ayaw mo yung bibili ka ngayon, tapos gagamitin mo 6 months from now. Medyo bad trip yon kasi nagbabayad ka na, hindi pa nagpapakinabangan. So meron kang scaling. So I think eventually, ang problema kasi sa atin, sa public sector, kailangan i-budget. Ang budget, kailangan batas. Ang batas dadaan sa konsehal. So that process is long. So medyo ang planning horizon natin, medyo 1 year pala talaga dapat. But having said that, the first question is not how much, what. And then the next question is what value are we generating? And then finally, the last question is that is the value we're generating commensurate with the cost that we're actually spending? If the answer is no, then your digital transformation model is wrong. And then you have to find that other way.
Thank you, Sir Bon. Yeah, actually, yun yung naisip ko kasi most of the LGUs are afraid because, you know, the budget of the local government units will pass through the council, the Sangguniang Bayan, and they have to know, parang, and this is the stigma or the wrong connotation of a lot of LGUs that pagdating sa digital transformation, it's so expensive. Pero they can see the value later on kung ano yung maipapakita nito na magiging parang return doon sa pagpabilis nung proseso, pag-ayos ng mga documents ng LGU. That's dapat ibang angulo din or ibang perspektibo yung pagtingin ng mga local governments dito. Sir Bon?
Let me provide a solution. Kasi mamaya sabihin, wala naman solution. I used to work for the Department of Budget and Management. Ang problema sa atin kasi, because the requirement for public stewardship is high, kailangan ng budgetary item natin very specific. No? 7 computers at 35,000, ganyan. Ang suggestion ko, mag-allocate kayo ng digital transformation fund with limits on where you can spend it as a percentage of your total budget every year. That means that if you're allocating, say, mag-allocate kami ng 50,000 lang. 50,000 this year or 50,000 every quarter for digital transformation, kiklear ng konsehal. And then ang use ng digital transformation is anything that allows us to offer to digitally transform our internal operations or digitally transform our service offering. Then the executive will now have more flexibility to be able to now choose and pick at some point because sometimes it changes and the reaction time needs to be fast. So an earmark reform fund, digital transformation fund, that you can now earmark either na quarterly para depende sa cash flow ng ano. And then of course, syempre, meron tayong stewardship issue and governance and transparency issue. And therefore, kasama nung mag-allocate kami ng X% funds for digital transformation, you need to report in your website every month kung ano yung ginamit nyo. Then it becomes transparent. Then it reins in the greed. And alam mo naman, kuminsan, 1 or 2 people will abuse the system if you now publish this and become transparent, then it dampens the propensity to you to misuse that fund and then allows you to still be nimble and attend to digital transformation.
Thank you, Sir Bon. I guess it sounds parang mas malinaw yun coming from the DBM na parang digital transformation fund would be easier for the planning dun sa mga LGUs na kasali po natin this afternoon. Sir, this is also another question. Should an organization have a certain level of technological capacity to venture into digital transformation?
I think I'll let Sir Bon Moya answer first.
Alam mo, wala nang taong hindi digitally transform. Wala na. Ganito na lang, lahat ngayon ang nakikinig sa atin na walang smartphone, if you are more than 5% of the population of yours, so ibig sabihin, the question is already wrong. What level? Because everyone is now digitally adept. Alright? Ang kulang sa atin, hindi yung ability to understand or use digital technology. Ang kulang sa atin yung digital governance. And yun yung kailangan nating i-acquire. Ano yung mga kailangan nating malaman so that we can regulate, promote, encourage, and implement digital transformation? Yun yung kailangan. Example, ano yung level? Inaalaw nyo ba ang work from home? O pinapa-time in, time out nyo pa? That's not technology. That's digital transformation, but it's a policy issue. Lahat ba naka-ATM? Pasweldo? Lahat. Ang bayad ba natin ng supplier? Digital. Digital transformation. So the real question is business processes rather than pure ability to get servers, control servers. Kasi yan, pwede nyo nang ipasa yan sa supplier. Lahat yan, pwede nang i-outsource. Hindi nyo na kailangan pag-isipan yan. Ang kailangan nyo pag-isipan yung use case at saka yung service delivery na kailangan i-digitally transform. So kung example, ang tanong ng konsehal, ano ba ang level natin? Kaya ba natin yan? Ang unang tanong sa konsehal, mga konsehal, i-allow ba nating mag-work from home tayo even after COVID? Yan yung first question.
Okay, so sabi niyo nga po kanina, it's the number of smartphones or cell phones in the Philippines is more than the population that we have right now. And more on dun sa side ng legislative, how we're going to use talaga the digital transformation. Sir Spencer, would you like to add something on that?
Yeah, to add to Sir Bonmoya, again, it's not, yung digital transformation is not just digital nga. It's a transformation. It's a cultural change. So hindi lang yung dahil yung level ng technology or alam natin, but it's more on ano ba yung paggagamitan nga natin dyan. Hindi naman kailangan yung technologically adept kaagad yung mga tao natin. But there are organizations out there like system integrator like NTT Data that help customers and government move to that digital transformation slowly. So hindi kami yung tumutulong nga sa mga organizations to help them adapt from a small scale na website lang to more of a bigger scale na lahat i-move namin to a digital practice natin. So nandyan hindi kailangan specific na nakarely kayo sa sarili ng tao, but there are available services out there that help you first enable the technology people inside your organization through trainings, as well as help you implement something from a pilot all the way to a bigger scale.
Alam mo minsan, mas madali pag joke eh. Mas madaling i-bring home yung point. Example, lahat tayo dati, kailangan para namin magamit yung system, kailangan namin ng training. Kailangan yung training namin sa hotel and so on and so forth. So anything new na digitally implemented, ang dami nating requirement ng training. Pero ang Facebook, lahat tayo nagfi-Facebook. Wala naman nag-training sa atin sa Facebook. Ang Facebook complicated May multimedia, may video, may linking, may security, may maraming level, may permission. It's a complex system. Wala naman nagturo sa atin ng Facebook, pero lahat tayo nagfi-Facebook. Wala naman nagbayad ng training sa hotel. So, yung framing ng tanong is already an indication of their openness and willingness. Kasi ginagawa na natin. Yung nag-Grab, wala namang training sa Grab. Diba? In fact, marami sa atin pupunta lang sa YouTube. Eh di lahat ng ating training material, ilagay nyo sa YouTube, tapos sabihan mo na pag may tanong ka, hanapin mo dun sa YouTube channel natin ng ano natin. Because some can do that. That's actually a digital transformation step. Create your own municipality YouTube channel, all your training, all your announcement, all your policies, all your laws, or your tourism advertisement are there. And then when someone asks you, just distribute all the URL links and then you're done. Nakamute ka, sir. Nakamute po. Yan. Yan ang example ng digital transformation, nawalan ng mic, nawalan ng cellphone. But you know, just because this happens doesn't mean that the proposition is wrong. It just means that when we solve this new problem, new skills problems will arise. And therefore, we need to attend all of them. For example, dati, attend ka lang ng seminar. Ngayon, hindi na pwede yun. Kailangan may etiquette ka na, mayroon ka ng muting. Tapos after a while, kailangan yung screen mo may, So when we solve some problems, we imbibe on new learning methodologies. Ay? Kala ko nakamute din ako. Hindi pala. Minute ng host lahat.
Tama nga si Sir Bonmoya, yun nga, it's really a cultural change. Hindi naman lahat kailangan idaan sa training. Meron mga items na very intuitive pag nahawakan natin, like the cellphone. Yung mga anak ko, 2-3 years old, 5 years old, maghawak sila ng cellphone, marunong na kaagad sila. So hindi siya talaga, it's not because of the people na it's more of the culture and openness to adapt to change.
So, bathroom break tayong lahat. So, habang ang host natin nag-charge ng phone, kikwentuhan ko kayo para meron tayong entertainment. Dati sa Manila, just to give you an example na realistic, pag nagtatrabaho ka sa Makati, 2 oras ang biyahe. Let's just say 1 hour ang biyahe from my workplace to the 1 hour. 1 hour going, 1 hour going back. 2 hours every day. 10 hours every week. 520 hours every year. Ang 520 hours, pag dinivide mo siya sa 9, 2 buwan. Pag dinivide mo siya sa 24, mahigit 1 buwan. So, ibig sabihin, nag-uubos ako ng oras just driving, more than a month and a half. Ang sick leave nyo, 10 lang, 15. Ang DL nyo, 10 lang, 15. Pero ang ginagastos nyo sa traveling, 2 buwan.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm back. Nawala ng battery yung lapel ko. Thank you for those sharing po ng information at saka mga experiences din po natin. Sir, this is also, I'd like to address this question on behalf of some LGUs. Here in Bayambang, we're just very fortunate that we have this certain office, the ICT office. And not all local government units, as of now, has this ICT office. So, sir, LGUs do not have always ICT office. What initial steps can be done by an LGU that wants to increase its effectiveness and efficiency through ICT but do not have such organizational capacity? Would you please share your thoughts about this one, or is it already a must for all LGUs to have these certain office?
Okay. Madaling sagutin yan. Let the experts do the heavy lifting. Kasi ang trabaho ng civil servants is to govern, to provide service, and to protect. Alright? Hindi mag-run ng IT. Pwede i-outsource yan eh. So kung gusto niyo mabilis, you outsource your productivity suite. You outsource your system. You outsource your hosting. You outsource everything. So that then, you now focus on ano yung service delivery na requirement ko, isusulat ko sa in a manner that's compliant with the Procurement Act, compliant kay COA, right? And then do a procurement process to allow the other people to do it. Hindi kasi mali yung premise na pag meron kang IT department, better than nothing, right? Magkakaroon ka na ng digital transformation. Pag may IT department ka, ibig sabihin, meron kang a handful of people that are now ready to digitally transform. Hindi yan sufficient. Dapat lahat nakapasok. So, I think that's the, and you don't need to worry about, ngayon at dati iba, 10 years ago, iba yung paradigm. You don't need to worry about servers. You don't need to worry about a data center. You don't need to worry about cooling. You don't need to worry about redundancy of power, etc., etc. Lahat yan, para ka na lang bumibili ng gatas sa palengke. So, kailangan nyo project management, road mapping, digital transformation plans, at enabling laws and policies. And then allow the private sector to come in and do what they do best to provide all of those so that government can do what government does best. And that is to provide, to protect, to provide and to protect.
Yeah. Sir Spencer, would you like to add more on that?
Yeah, like what Sir Bon Moya mentioned, yung role ng government as civil servants is not to maintain IT. There are people who will be specialized talaga to do that, and that's kahit na coming from the private sector. The role of government is to have yung civil service to provide order, to provide to the constituents. And all of the rest, pwede yung i-outsource na. Like for us, we've been doing work for different agencies, ranging from providing automation sa document management nila all the way up to providing disaster recovery and backup in case may mangyari. A recent example would be last year sa Manila, nagkaroon ng typhoon. This big government agency na wala ng kuryente. So paano ba sila magiging business as usual? So that's why that is important na alam natin saan tayo magfo-focus. With government agencies, again, we can focus on delivering services to the individuals and leave all of the support stuff to other people like the private organization.
Let me cite an example. This is practical kasi pag kasing tanda mo na ako, and I've been in the industry quite some time. Creating your own IT department is actually sometimes bad for you. And here's the reason. When you hire, may security of tenure ang government.
Yeah.
Right? So when you hire, the current need, for example, 10 years ago, ang current need natin, VB.NET developer. Network cabler and network maintenance developer. Tapos server developer. So hinire mo na siya. Nagtayo kayo ng server. 5 years after, may bagong technology, hindi irrelevant na yung both your technology, hindi mo ngayon sila matanggal dahil may protection sila ng But their skill set is limited to VB, limited to na hindi mo naman kailangan. So, in fact, counterintuitive because unlike providing law, providing frontline services, continuing siya, ang IT every 5 years nag-iterate. But our organizational structure and laws cannot keep up. That's why it's always best to think of project management, outsource that, because if the technology changes, then you're not bound to the organization that you initially started.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate those things, no, lalo na dun sa mga LGUs who are just planning to have their certain ICT departments. And yeah, that's true. Here in Bayambang, what we did also was to tap a private sector to help us launch our digital or computerization program. Sir, this balik lang ako ng konti kanina dito with regard to e-signatures na hindi na dapat as much as possible. Let us lessen the papers. So, ang nakikita namin dito, sabi po kasi ni Ma'am Bonita, one of our participants also, and our Chief Executive Assistant, the national offices, sila mismo yung nangangailangan ng papel. Hindi nila tinatanggap yun eh. Yun yung problem eh. For example, sabi nga ni Sir Ricky dito, the COA itself, siya may pinakamadaming papel na gusto kong inahanap. It should be talagang papel. What is your, it's just point of discussion, not necessarily it should be the one be implemented. Paano yung pag-reconcile ng LGU is having the digital transformation to these national policies that they really need the paper, not just the electronic copies? Any comment on that? Both from the side ng private sector and kay Sir Bon. Yes, sir?
COA sees the same things we're seeing. They're smelling the same things we're smelling. And they're hearing the same things we're hearing. So they know that it's required. They know that sooner or later, digital signatures will not be required. Civil Service Commission knows sooner or later that people will now not need to report to work. Everyone knows that, all right? So it's an engagement process. Walang one size fits all all right? Because COA itself need to also submit. They also need to continue auditing without going to Quezon City here in Commonwealth. Na maraming COVID, by the way. So the same thing, the same imperatives that we're seeing, they're also seeing. And therefore, it follows that they're also thinking of the same things. The key idea is for us to come together, generate a strong consensus, and then move forward. In fact, inaalaw na ni COA ang digital signature. Except that, ang sagot nila, yung PKI ni DICT. So it's not exactly the same one that we have. So conceptually, wala silang issue sa digital signature. Meron lang silang preferred methodology. So now, the discussion will now focus on not so much whether they will accept it or not, but ano yung technological protocols natin as far as digital signature. Anong types ang inaalaw nyo? And then you have to write to them. Hindi ka naman pwedeng iisipin ko lang si COA, hindi, tapos na. Sabi nga kanina dun sa digital feedback loop natin, data points, intelligence, action. So yung action component, if we think we need to engage them, we have to send them a letter. They are complied by the red tape law to respond in 15 days, right? Obligado sila. So why don't you write that? If you don't write it, they will not respond to you.
Thank you, Sir Bon. How about Sir Spencer? What is your idea on this from the private sector?
Yeah, from the private sector, we've implemented digital signatures to two organizations, two major organizations in the Philippines. So one is a retail and one is more of a telco natin. They accept yung the digital signatures na nga. But again, tinitingnan nila ano yung process, ano ba yung process na pwede natin lagyan ng digital signatures, ano yung pwedeng legal basis nga natin. Because based on the e-commerce act nga natin na digital signatures are already being accepted. We had an implementation with another government agency wherein yung administrative orders nila nararoute namin through approval from a digital na. So wala na tayong paper-based talaga doon. Yung process nila comes from palipat-lipat ng emails, palipat-lipat ng papel. Minsan mawawala pa yung papel along the way, to a more efficient way to do it na mas mabilis natin na gagawa yung process. Mas mabilis na a-approvehan yung AO nila or administrative orders nila.
Yeah, that's the idea that we wanted to the people to understand also pagdating dito sa digital transformation. I'll have two more questions, sir, before we conclude and finalize the webinar this afternoon. Sir, this is parang isa na lang to, pag-isahin ko na lang tong question na to. You know naman, sir, probinsya to, ano? This is a province, probinsya po ang Bayambang or ang Pangasinan. Now, a lot of people will have this thought or stigma that digital transformation will replace human resources or computers. And sir, and most of our people here are farmers. How would you please give on your ideas how these digital transformation will really help the farmers or will benefit our farmers? Would like to start with
May I? Kasi malapit sa puso ko yung tanong na yan. Gigil ako dyan sa tanong na yan eh. Mali kasi yung framing ng tanong na yan. First, historically, yan din ang issue nung first industrial revolution, nung mechanize nila yung paggawa ng damit. Mawawalan sila ng trabaho, so on and so forth. The truth is, the reality is, it actually created more work. So, just to answer that directly, hindi mawawalan ng trabahador. Magbabago ang trabaho. Yes. Pero yung type ng work magbabago, pero yung trabahador hindi. So ang mawawalan ng trabaho, yung hindi kayang matuto ng bagong skills. Hindi dahil wala ng trabahong mapupunta sa automation, because the new skills that will be required, you're not willing to learn. So ang number one skill requirement ng mga empleyado ngayon is to have the ability to learn new things much quicker. Right? Because when we switch to digital transformation, merong data privacy officer. Dati walang data privacy officer. Merong online social media responder na dati wala. Merong database maintenance na dati wala. Merong encryption specialist na dati wala. Merong UI UX na trabaho na dati wala. So in fact, we're creating more work rather than destroying work. We're destroying some types of work through. Right? And therefore, those people who cannot retrain themselves and acquire new skills, sila yung mawawalan ng trabaho.
Thank you, Sir Bob, for that. Sir Spencer?
Yeah, I agree. It's not about eliminating work, pero yun nga, creating new value sa atin. We're eliminating work that doesn't create value. Katulad nga, let's say for example, very simple natin, yung sa HR natin, typically, di ba, nagpa-file tayo ng leave. Sinusulat natin yan, pinapadala natin yan sa mga tao, ina-approvean, tapos yung tao sa HR, titingnan nila kung pwede ka mag-leave o hindi based on a certain set of requirements. If we automate that, mapapabilis lahat ng sistema na yon, di ba? So yung HR natin can now focus on more meaningful activities. Hindi na siya kailangan mag-check lang ng attendance, di ba? So pwede na silang gumawa ng other things like paano ba natin i-enhance yung employees natin para mag-stay sila, or paano natin sila bibigyan ng upskill natin para maintindihan nila paano mag-move to or transition to digital. So again, yung mga trabaho na that are parang more less meaningful, pwede natin i-eliminate and create more value out of that using the digital transformation nga natin. For agriculture or for farms, in the future, pwede tayong maglagay ng what we call IoT or sensors that allow us to monitor yung crops natin. So, kung gabaga, mas mapapadami yung ani natin kasi hindi na natin binabantayan araw-araw yon. Meron tayong predictive analytics na magsasabi, by this day, pwede na natin ani yan, tapos pwede na natin mag-start ng panibagong rotation ng crops natin. So, again, hindi siya nawawala. At the same time, yun nga, the enablement from farm to table yung agriculture natin pwede nang dalhin directly from your farmers to yung consumers natin without the need for middlemen. Sabi nga ni Krister kanina, nagkwento siya sa akin na because he was in Baguio, naka-source siya ngayon ng mga strawberries na pwede niya ibenta diretso sa mga consumers. So siya, may kumikita yung strawberry farmer, at the same time kumikita si Krister. Pero yung in-between no, nawawala na yung mga middlemen nga natin na nagpapatong ng malaki.
Tapos, that begs the question eh. So pag tinanong ka, naku, mawawalan ng trabaho. Mawawalan kami ng trabaho. So ano ibig sabihin? Hindi na tayo magbabago. Is that the implication of the question? And therefore, we should all remain the way things are right now because I will lose my job. Wala namang ganun sa mundo.
Yeah. I got the point, Sir Bon and Sir Spencer. Thank you very much for this very maganda na batuan. Ang dami ko pa sana gusto yung questions, but then I have limited time. So, sir, just to have this one na lamang po, just to end this open forum that we had, Sir Bon and Sir Spencer, would you please give us na lamang po encouragement or few words for the LGUs and the people to embrace digital transformation?
Mauna po ang pogi. Mr. Spencer, mauna ka na po.
Sige. So yun nga, digital transformation, hindi siya kailangan grand operation. Hindi rin siya kailangan one expensive na project. It always starts with the culture to understand nasan yung value and to align that to ano yung mga challenges na nakikita natin for our constituents. Once na nag-align yung dalawang na yun, madali na lang i-justify yung return on investment natin. Again, it doesn't require a big investment. Kahit na pa konti-konti yan, dahan-dahan lalaki, dahan-dahan mag-change yung culture natin and mag-change yan to a more digital environment. We just need to focus on delivering what value we can to constituents and to the citizens to allow us to change a lot more faster.
Alright, isi-switch natin. Marami sa inyo nasa civil servants na nagsisilbi sa ating bayan. Marami may kamag-anak abroad na dati nakikita natin twice a year, every 2 years or every 3 years, minsan if we're lucky every year. But now, because of current disruptive technology, not only can we give them our quick tweet, our quick SMS, our quick Viber, our quick Messenger, we can now also send them quick videos. And in fact, now, which we do, we can now go online and talk to each other as if they were here near us. That's the value of digital transformation. The other one, dati, kailangan kong bumili ng newspaper para malaman ko kung ano nangyayari sa atin. Ngayon, hindi na. I can just get my phone and then receive all the news, both the real news and the fake news, I then receive it. And then finally, dati, pagka gusto kong kumain ng Jollibee, kailangan kong lumakad para pumunta sa Jollibee. Ngayon, pwede kong gawin yan at pwede ako magpadala ng pera. Now imagine, ikaw yung citizen. The same wonder, benefits, and value that I now derive as a consumer of digital goods and services, I should now offer to my constituencies based on the job that I offer. So put yourself in their shoes, then you can determine what their aspirations are, and lahat tayo pumasok sa pagtulong sa bayan because yun ang gusto natin, tumulong. So kung alam mo kung anong gusto nila, just follow what brought you into public service in the first place and provide that public service. But this time, using a medium that they now like better.
Good po. Thank you very much, Sir Bon and Sir Spencer, for sharing your more ideas for this open forum and for answering the questions that we have gathered a while ago. Maraming pong salamat. So we're almost at the end of our webinar this afternoon, and this is just the first part of the 4 stages po ng ating pong digital transfer, or should I say digital LGU for Smart Town session. This is just number 1. We still have 3 sessions that we're going to have in the future. And mga kaibigan, alam ko maraming mga gusto pa pong malaman about this one, and mas marami pa pong may gusto na what would be the ano pa yung mga nangyayari pag nagkaroon ng digital transformation ng ating pong local government unit. But then, to end this program, let's listen for the closing remarks coming from the head of the ICT department here at LGU Bayambang, our Information Communications Technology Officer, Sir Ricky Bululacam. Sir Ricky?
Yan. So good afternoon everyone again, and I would like to thank a lot of people for participating in this event. First, because this is a very big, for me, I think this is a very big event in terms of the scope and in terms of the depth ng discussion. And I would like to thank a lot of people. Of course, I would like to thank our Municipal Mayor, Dr. Cesar Kiambao, for approving this activity. The truth is, this activity is kasabay ng other strategic priorities ng LGU, but he allowed us, and actually Paeng, to be here so that we can really share and have this discussion on what digital transformation is. Also, I would like to thank, I mentioned Paeng, he's the chairperson of the Bayambang Poverty Reduction Action Team, and the poverty reduction is the sort of the inspiration for digital transformation when I talk about it. We cannot separate any ICT initiative outside of the goal of eliminating poverty. So it's a very, I'm very glad, not just for his candor, not just for his skill in discussing with people and livening, kumbaga binubuhay niya ang usapan, but really his passion din with regard to strategizing how we can eliminate poverty altogether. Also would like to thank the Public Information Office and Municipal Tourism and Cultural Affairs na nagpahiram at nagpahiram ng studio for this discussion. And of course, the ICT team, this is something new for the ICT, I believe, in terms of expanding our publics, not just for immediate LGUs, but even for other, for people outside of the LGU, like, for example, of course, Sir Bon Moya, Krister, and of course, outside of the LGU. So we hope that you would continue to participate in our next round of sessions relative to digital LGU for Smart Town. I would like to also thank, of course, our other participants from other LGUs, from the private sector. We hope that you will, again, continue to join us in the next installments because we know na lahat po tayo ay gusto natin na mag-improve ang our ability to deliver public service dahil mahal naman natin ang ating mga kababayan. I would just like to, kumbaga, just dial a bit regarding the digital transformation and the smart town. Okay? When I first read the ambition, the vision of the Bayambang, which is to be a globally competitive smart town, and then sa dulo nun, empowered by a poverty-freed citizenry, it had a very impactful, it had a very big impact for me for two things. Of course, the last component was on poverty-freed citizenry. It's something that the national government envisions, and of course, I appreciate that in our municipality we have this document, this grand plan called the Bayambang Poverty Reduction Plan. So on the poverty-freed citizenry, may malinaw na plano. With regard to the smart town, yun yung medyo what I found was a bit not yet clear. I think the municipal mayor and the legislative, when they discussed the vision, they defined the smart town within the definition itself ng vision. So may disaster resilient, protecting in the environment, and of course, poverty-freed citizenry. From my perspective now as a former planning and M&E person, I had to grapple with the idea, tackle with the what does smart town mean for us? Aside from the big words of a disaster resilient, protecting the environment, socially protecting its people. So that's something that I was really considering. So I had to, and that was one of the reasons, one of the considerations that I had with expanding this webinar to make. I thought that this is something that would be helpful not just for our town but for even for the constituents ng Bayambang and even outside our municipality. So what we want is to have this clear, kumbaga, something that everyone would easily understand, so that by the end of, let's say, 5 years or 10 years, we would know, yes, we have achieved being a smart town. And so what are these smart definitions? Okay, so for me, this is something, a work in progress, I guess, based on the discussions. Okay, so from the public perspective, we want na yung smart town would have its constituents have the option to request any public service and submit the requirements as appropriate and receive the service online. So katulad ng mga napag-usapan kanina, anytime, anywhere, basta kumbaga may internet ka, you can request that service. You don't need to come to the municipality to request that service if what you need is something that can be affected nang hindi pumupunta. We also want that constituents can provide feedback for every service or output. Of course, we want yung feedback loop. And the constituents also see developments and progress of government initiatives in near real time. So we want our government, our local government, to be transparent, and that information is something easily accessible in practically near real time. That's from the perspective of the public. For the institution, I'm looking at our agency that is able to collaboratively and securely share data, not just for the sake of sharing data, but to speed up processing and decision making. I'm also considering that our government would embrace organizational learning to achieve resilience. Hindi masyado siya napag-usapan kanina, pero actually nabanggit yung idea ng nagbabago ang organisasyon, nagbabago ang environment, realities. For example, biglang dumating ang COVID, ang organization ba kayang magbago na sumabay? Dahil kung hindi siya magbabago, parang imagine our LGU na hindi nag-adapt so that we can deliver public service. We will still be stuck with the idea na, kung kailangan mo ng tulong, pumunta ka sa MSWDO. Hindi tayo naging ganun. When COVID-19 happened and there was the enhanced community quarantine, what we did as an LGU, tayo yung nag-deliver nung relief sa mga nangangailangan. And that is just an example of us really reaching out. And we want that we would have that capability to adjust, adapt, and learn. And lastly, this is from the perspective of our employees. I think it's important that employees would be able to work efficiently and effectively using technology, not to do more work, but to achieve work-life balance. I think it's important na maintindihan din natin na ang mga civil servants and actually even private sector employees, they have their private lives that we also want them to grow. And these are the things that I think, things that I'm considering, as kumbaga, if we want to have some clear picture of what a smart town is from the perspective of that particular term lang. Okay, and of course, this definition or working definition is for input with my colleagues in the local government. Lastly, this journey, as I titled this talk, this is a journey. So I don't think that this will be completed by the end of the 4 sessions, but this is going to start the discussion. And I hope that the LGU, the local government, and the constituents, both from the private sector and the individuals, our constituents, would have that discussion and that we would have that shared vision of what a globally competitive smart town is. Before I just go, I just want to thank, I thanked a lot of people, but I would like to just cap this off with just recognizing and thanking God for really making this happen. It's something na hindi, it's something at risk that I think I took a risk because we don't really know what's the propensity of the local government is in doing this, because I think this is the first time we had a meeting online. Hindi, we have our meetings, but we still do it in a large room so that we would be able to observe health distance, social distancing protocols. But this time, I saw a lot of participants from our local government, and I also saw participants from other local government units. And I saw that, yes, there is propensity, and that this just gave us that inspiration to really do this for the next time. I would like to thank, of course, also our resource persons, Sir Bon Moya. Sir Bon is actually a personal mentor of mine when I was in my previous employer. So whenever I want to talk about digital transformation, I always remember si Sir Bon, na he is the one na makakapag bring down ng topic na to. I also want to thank, of course, Spencer and Krister for volunteering in this discussion, and I hope that you would continue your parang advocacy, because I saw them na talagang again, they were also colleagues of mine with my previous work, and they were I saw that their desire to really empower organizations, small or medium, because in my previous organization, it was also relatively small. But I appreciate them na nakakapag-share sila ng nakukuha nilang value from other organizations to our organization. So I hope that all participants have learned from their talk. I believe they were, and I hope that we would be able to see you again on our next session. Thank you very much, and God bless everyone.
Thank you very much, Sir Ricky, for that closing remarks, and for everyone who joined us in this webinar series, the first of which, mga kaibigan, before we end, I believe, before I have to close everything na po dito, no? You know, just would like to share, I'm just very excited also to join this webinar because yung computer literacy ko nung college, naging 275 ako nun, kaya hindi ako naging cum laude. Kaya kailangan ko matutunan lahat po dito. So this time, I have to request everybody to please open your mic or your cameras for a screen capture for our attendance. My team, our team will just have, check na lang natin. Please open your cameras para we could have a screenshot of it. Shall we just count? Yan. Ayan, hindi lumalabas si Sir Ricky. Dun sa natin, background natin. What shall we do?
Para akong multo.
Yan, it's hard, What shall we do? Okay. So, let's have?
So, lahat.
Okay.
Yan.
Per page, per page.
Per page.
Okay. Or that?
Bilang ka naman!
Bibilang tayo. And 1, 2, 3. Smile, everybody! Okay, can we have thumbs up? Thumbs up na lang po tayo.
Kita ba? Ay, layo.
Kita tayo siguro dyan. And 1, 2, 3. Smile, everybody! Okay. Okay na tayo. Okay. So yan mga kaibigan, nagpapasalamat po kami sa lahat po ng mga umaten here in LGU Bayambang and to other LGUs and other private companies and organizations who join. Again, maraming pong salamat kay Sir Krister Cruz and Sir Spencer Chu, Sir Richard Moya, sa lahat po ng mga participants po. Maraming pong salamat for joining this first Digital LGU for Smart Town Session 1 about digital transformation. We could flash the next, the calendar, the schedule. Do we have, yes. Let me just share to you the calendar or the schedule of our next meeting. We'll be having information security and data privacy on, where is that? Here. Yan na lang. We'll be having digital, yes, we have the digital transformation today. On April 19, 2021, it will be information security and data privacy, ensuring security in a sharing community. So please, pakibook na yan sa inyong mga calendars. On May 10, on the other hand, 2021, we'll be having data-driven decision-making. And on June 14, 2021, it's a responsive IT and system acquisition as we continue our digital transformation as digital and smart LGUs. Yan mga kaibigan, maraming pong salamat. We'll be sending on your email ads the feedbacking form. Please answer that one po to improve our system here, and we could improve ourselves in staging such webinars. And we would like also to request that we'll be sending also, if you wanted the recorded version of these webinar, we could also send to your email addresses. So again, I'm Rafael Lumacasaigo, your Supervising Tourism Operations Officer and the Chairperson of Bayambang Poverty Reduction Action Team. Would like to say thank you very much for your participation, and we hope to see you in the next webinars that we're going to have for digital LGU for a smart town here at Balon Bayambang, Pangasinan, Philippines. Magandang hapon, marami pong salamat. Juste Aguina, thank you very much.